everybody's screaming, we're on.
Is this the theme song?
This is the theme song,
I'd love to hear the ones you decided not to use.
Hello, welcome to Chick Chat Comedy Podcast. I am here today with my fabulous and beautiful co-host, Carrie Carabas.
Hello, Patty.
And we can't even believe that we lucked out. We got
shut up.
a legend
in the biz,
in comedy, in radio, in comedy,
everything.
In everything,
in
You
clothing,
and I-
in clothing.
We all know that
In
at
business.
this point, legend translates to old. Okay. Classic, legend,
Yes.
old.
Jackie the Joke Man Martling is here with us today. Woo! And
Thank you
is
both.
here to talk about his new book, and make sure I say it right, The Joke Man, A Bow to Stern.
No, the joke man, bow to stern.
Bow to Stern, not a bow.
No, it's
Bow
not,
to
it's
stern.
not
God
a
damn
bow
it.
to stern. Bow to stern is
Bow
front
to
to
stern.
back.
God damn it. Okay, why is this sound on if I turn this to
oh my
get
gosh,
rid of
she
this?
is whacked.
Okay, bow to stern.
It's the front of the boat to the back of the boat.
Why am I just... okay, thank you.
Oh, very
Oh.
clever.
Very clever.
But what is bow... So what? I don't get bow to stern. You're bowing to stern?
No, that's the goof of it. But the bow is the front of the boat, and the stern is the rear of the boat. It's
Yeah.
from the beginning to the end. It's my life.
Patty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Patty.
I read the book and I didn't even understand the title. I
my
love the
God.
book. Can I just say something? Read the book. It's a great read. It's a fast read. It's so funny. You talk about everything.
How can you enjoy the book and not have understood the title? I'm totally flattered. Did you really read it?
I am real.
Or is this high school? Where
No,
you read-
Patty, she
something.
does. She
I
does.
do my homework. I read the whole thing. I went and I read the last chapter too about your childhood. I got from beginning, from soup to nuts.
When I was in 10th grade,
Yes.
I mean, one of the things I've said for my whole life is if I had one wish, I wish that I had read everything in my life that I was supposed to in
Right.
high school, college,
Right.
and everything, because I'm sure I would have enjoyed all of it. Because now I'm 1,000 years old, and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd have read that. And I'm in 10th grade, and we were supposed to read A Tale of Two Cities, and I didn't read it, of course. And then we had a test, and I said to the guy in front of me, his name was Greg Smith. I said, Schmidt, let me copy your paper. He goes, I didn't read it. So he let me look over his shoulder.
Right.
I paraphrased what he wrote, and I got a B, and he got an F, and it said on his paper, "You did not
Oh
read
my
it."
God, that's hilarious.
That's all. It's because everybody's so full of crap, you know. So when you say, "Oh, I read your book," I was like, "Yeah, all right."
I read
No,
your
she
book.
did,
You will
she
find
did.
out. I read your book.
But
As a
I
ma-
do agree with him, though.
Yes.
I wish I would have read the fine print on the marriage license
Ah,
that I signed.
Are you currently married?
I am currently married.
And what,
You're happily married.
Oh, yes.
what did it not say or say that you wish it did?
Till death to your part.
That is a little bit terminal, isn't it? I mean, that's a little crazy.
That's like making one of us want to
it should
commit
say,
a murder.
Till we're sick of fucking each other would be a much way of putting it.
Exactly. Exactly. That would have been like 3 years in.
Congratulations.
I'm
Congratulations.
kidding. He's probably watching. I can't. I'm joking, honey.
Well, that might have just coincided with your menopause. That does make
Oh,
you.
Jesus
That does
Christ.
make you. Okay, he's going, oh, Jesus Christ, like it's bad. But here's one of the things.
When's the last time you humped your husband?
Oh my God!
You
I
don't
didn't know
even
this
know.
was going to be a quiz.
You know, we had an 89.
2 weeks ago. No, 1 week
not
ago.
Not when's the
1
last time
week
you
ago.
fucked him, the last time she
you
fucked him.
fucked my husband, you bitch.
We had this guy at the Friars. Me and Bob Greenberg and Mike Fine had an 89-year-old comic named Bernie Burns. You ever hear of him?
I don't
No.
know.
And he's telling stories, but he wasn't talking about Jerry Lewis. He was talking about Danny Lewis, Jerry's father. I mean, this is how old his stories were. But he just casually was talking about something, and then he said so-and-so, and he was a great rabbi, and he was a great humper. And matter of fact, under his breath, he says, oh, well, all the cantors were great humpers. First of all, who calls them humpers?
What does that even mean?
It just means that all the cantors fucked everybody they could. They say, well,
Yeah.
and I guess
Really?
it's
Get
a
action.
I guess the cantors fucked everybody in the congregations. Did you ever know? I never knew that.
All right, is a cantor a singer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
that's why. That
Yes.
girls love singers.
I know.
Yeah, but it's Jews, though. Welcome to the...
Point. I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to tell you a joke.
Go ahead. I want to hear one.
Because Bill McCarty, is he still around?
Yes, he works here.
Bill McCarty, I met him here 40 years ago, and we worked together at the Fort Lauderdale comic strip. And I told him a joke, and he died. And for the next decade, 3, 4, 5, how many decades it's been, every time I see him, he sings the opening line to this song. It's so great. So there's a cantor who, the cantors always do the eulogies for people, And very often, you always hear about George Jessel does a eulogy, and he's talking about a guy, and he looks down and says, "My God, I actually know this person." So they get up, they get invited to come do these, and they get paid a nice buck, and they get up and do it. So this cantor is at a funeral, and he gets up, and he said, Irving Schwartz, he says, "He was a good man. Irving Schwartz, he was a good man, a good family man. Everybody loved him. He was a very religious man. He took good care of his family and his neighbors. He was a good man." Do you have any brothers and sisters? He has a sister, Ethel. He loved his sister, Ethel. She was a good girl. He loved her. He took care of Ethel. She had kids, 3 kids, and took care of Ethel and her kids. He was a very good uncle, a good man. He was a terrific man. Do you have any brothers? 1 brother. What's he do? He works at the William Morris Agency. Be my love!
Jackie.
When I was in Fort Lauderdale, we went to an amusement park, and I went around the corner on a roller coaster, and McCarty had climbed among the roller coasters, so when we came around the bend, he was standing there going, "Be my love." That's such a show business joke. Everybody's auditioning.
I love it.
Everybody.
Always auditioning.
Everybody.
So
It's true, because in L.A., I went to get a job as a waitress, and I'm filling out the app, and there was like 60 other people in there, and they all had their headshots.
To apply for waitress or just in case
At like
they
a
ran,
Wendy's.
you never know who you're going to meet.
At like a Denny's. And I turn around, and, I'm a New Yorker. I could give a shit less. I'm like, is there a movie being cast in here today? And they're like, no. I'm like, what? Why does everybody have their headshots? To get the waitress job. Isn't that amazing?
That's crazy.
Oh, I thought you were making it like they were there also in case they...
No.
It wasn't in case they ran into some booking agent. It was to get the wait. That's great.
I thought a good old-fashioned blowjob was the way to go, but apparently
It's
I'm
a way
wrong.
I'll tell you, there's a 69-year-old comedian from Long Island, and that will do you very well with him. He's a good friend of mine. He's sitting right next to you. So if you want to talk,
Now,
Hey,
you-
cock, if you want to suck his cock!
So you're from Long Island.
Shut up. Let me ask you a question. Are you guys a comedy team? Do you work as a comedy team?
No,
We
but we're
should,
thinking
though.
of it.
We
We're thinking
should,
of
though,
it.
because she's funnier than I am, and I need the
Stop
bookings.
it. No,
But
she's
this
funnier
is,
than me.
This works. And I mean...
Maybe we should do it.
No,
you
I
know?
mean, if just being together, the hardest thing about being a comedy team
Yes.
is like being able to be together. If you're able to be together, you might as well stand on stage and fuck with each other, right?
Well, that's
Exactly.
true.
I said that, Patty.
You were never you did music as a team, but you never did comedy as a team, right?
No. Me and Bob
You have
Woods.
a pretty good voice, by the way.
Thank you.
Maybe that chant. that
when
you-
Broder put Bob Nelson and Jim Myers and Eddie Murphy together.
King Broder.
put
God
them.
rest his soul.
No,
And his wig.
Nobody's gonna rest that soul. When Broder, I got a great one.
I like
when
Broder.
put,
He ripped off everybody.
I love
know.
Broder.
I
When he
love
put
him, though.
Eddie Murphy, and Bob Nelson, Jim Myers together, and called them the identical triplets, which
That
was
was the
brilliant.
Oh yeah, that
was the
was
best.
smart.
But they caught on right away, and so he wanted to make lightning strike twice. You know, Billy West, my friend Billy West, his definition of Hollywood is a town where lightning strikes, so everybody runs over there waiting for it to strike again, right? So he put me in Hawthorne. Did you know Dave Hawthorne?
yes.
Yes.
And Bob Woods.
Yes.
Oh, Bob
So
Woods.
we were
Woods, a big heavyset guy.
we were the
Yeah.
Rolling Clones, okay?
That's
And
funny.
that was the only time I was in like a three, and we did a few bits as
The
three
only
guys.
time
and
you
we
were
were
in a
horrible.
threesome?
Don't lie,
No,
Jackie.
believe
no,
it. I don't
no.
believe
I've
it.
had me a few threesomes, and I'm still sore.
Hey, speaking of
King Broder,
threesomes-
you're talking about my singing voice. I had been in a band right up until I started in comedy, and I played King Broder, my hit single that my band had recorded, and King Broder literally called me the Anthony Newley of Long Island.
Anthony Newley.
And I can still hear Bob Woods getting drunk and say, "Hey, Anthony!" You know, oh, God. Of all the people to call Anthony Newley
I don't
of
even know
Long
who
Island.
that is.
Anthony Newley was like, the what? Like he had this
Over
whole,
vibrato.
What was
Over-
his
over-
famous song?
His song was it was from
Stop the World. I
Stop
Wanna
the
Get
World, yeah. And
I'm
they
not
were
as
always
old as you
Oh,
guys, so
that's
let's.
true.
We're gonna have
I've
to
got 10
just-
years on you, so yeah. I want you to tell the story about you. I want you to talk about. Now I'm going blank because what's his name? Rodney Dangerfield. Because getting to work with him and sharing different things, you shared different things.
That was those stories are too good. Those are the ones I want to tease people and tell them they have to get.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because those are really great. There were Rodney. I wrote that book, and I've been writing it for decades, right? I started just writing stories here and there, and then the web came out.
And the stories are your life.
Yeah, and when the web happened, I started writing stories, not a book, modular stories, and I accumulated them, and some of them was stories that I told on the Stern Show. And that was so funny because when I started on the show and we went to mornings, we'd be sitting there before we went on the air, me and Howard and Fred or maybe Gary, and before the show and after the show, we'd sit around and we'd write, and before we'd write, we'd tell bullshit stories, And those guys would tell stories, and every single time I would tell a story, and it would always trump them times 5, and I started to notice that every time I told a story, I'd catch them looking at each other and rolling their eyes like here he goes again.
Bullshit, right?
Yeah, and none of the stories made it to the air until like 6 or 8 months later, as they got to know me. All of a sudden, they were like, "Fuck, these are true stories," and then the stories made it to the air. But I did them on the web, and I did them, and I almost had a deal so many times. The first foreword I wrote for the first attempt at the book was, it's 1994, and I'm at JFK with Gilbert Gottfried, and we're going out to Las Vegas to do a TV show for the Channel 9 Superstation. Do you remember? I mean, the Watcher, this decades ago.
Okay.
So slowly but surely, I almost got a book, and then didn't. So I got so much stuff that this book, you read the book, it's like 30 or 40% about me and about things that actually, they're kind of connected to the show because it's stuff I talked about on the show. And then the other 60% is the show. I have a whole nother book in my computer that's the same thing, but different. 30% me and 70% Stern Show, only it's all stories because they're all modular stories. You read it.
Yes.
It's all the same stuff, but different. Different Rodney Dangerfield stories, different comedian stories, different stuff.
That's great, because
there's so much. There's nothing in there. There's hardly anything about stand-up comedy. There's nothing about private parts. There's nothing about, there's so many things,
Except you didn't get to play you in the bathtub scene in Private Parts, it said. Didn't that piss you off?
Well, that's a whole chapter that didn't make it. Yeah, of course that pissed me off. Oh, my God. I almost got divorced over it. Oh, that was a whole big deal. And there's a whole story. Private Parts is not in the, it'll be in the next book, I hope. But that was a whole deal because according to a lot of people, and, you got to blow your own horn because you're certainly not going to do it as much as you threaten. A lot of people say the funniest line in the movie, okay? So I've never been in a movie. The movies I've been in, you're holding the lights and holding
Wait, you weren't in that movie, the one that what was that movie the Long Island Comics did?
No, my voice was in that.
No, what was that called?
Rider P.I.
Rider P.I.
Oh,
Every Long
yeah,
Island
that's
comic
true.
was
They
in
were all
it.
in that. Were you in that?
No,
My voice was in it.
Oh,
My
okay.
voice was in it. I was the voice on the refrigerator telling the fat person not to eat more food. Do you know the story of Jim Myers from that movie? No. Jim Myers' son was in it. Jim Myers' son was 7 years old, and Myers was in it, and his son was in it. And he said, you know what? I'm in a movie, and so is my son. When is that going to happen again? What's the odds of that ever happening again? So he went for it. We had no money. Nobody had any money, but he went for it and rented a limo to go to the screening at some little crappy, movie theater on Long Island. I was out of town, but everybody was there. And Myers and his son went by limo, and he said to me, the movie was so fucking bad that it was worth springing for the limo to have tinted windows on the way home.
So no one would see you.
But here we are. And there's a whole story about the movie. I wasn't supposed to be in the movie. It's a chapter that'll absolutely sell a second book. I hope they take the second book. But we're sitting around, and it's a table read. Now, I'm not used
Private
to
Parts.
Right.
And you're playing you.
Right. And I'm not used to a regular movie where there's, it's usually, here's the script, show up yesterday,
Right.
You get no money. You got to chip in for gas to get there.
Right.
But here we are, and we're sitting around a table. It's a table read. The first time anybody that's in it that has 2 lines, 20, everybody's at the table.
That's a big table.
It's a very big table, and I'm sitting there, and I don't know from what to do, and I got my part in front of me, and it comes around, and we get to the match game scene. Now, I don't know if you have any leeway. I'm a comic. I want to fuck around.
Right, you don't have leeway in those
What
things.
good is it to be there if you can't fuck around? So it comes around, and it comes to me, and it was blank Willow. And the line was, what do you have, Jackie? Oh, I have pussy, Gene. Pussy Willow, right? And so that was the line on the paper. So it got to me, and I had written it very sloppy, and it got to me and said, and Jackie Martling, what'd you have? I said, I got pussy, Gene, but I wrote it kind of sloppy. I got sloppy pussy. And everybody went fucking nuts, right? So cut to 3 months later, 4 months later, there's a guy sitting in my seat, my stand-in, they get the lights ready, you know, we're setting up for the scene. I can't believe the enormity of this. There's like 70 people there, and I turned to somebody and said,
a real movie.
Why would they let all these listeners come to watch the taping? And he said, what are you talking about? They're all working. They're not just the guy that's holding the cable for the guy that holds the cable.
The camera.
So we're sitting there, but nobody had said a word. So I'm sitting there, and I'm watching 80 people, and I'm watching the dollars flip. You know, tick, 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 tick. They're all union guys getting paid $1 gazillion.
Right.
Am I supposed to fuck around? Am I not supposed to fuck around? So come right there, and Jackie, what'd you have? I had pussy, Gene. Okay, cut. And the producer comes over and whispers in my ear. He says, "Did you know what you said when you were sitting at the table?" I said, "Well, yeah, of course I do." He says, "Well, why don't you say that?" Take two, all right. And they roll again. What do you got? I got pussy. In fact, I wrote it sloppy. I got sloppy pussy. And everybody went wild. And that was in the movie. Which was the whole deal. And that's why in the beginning it says co-written by... But how funny is that? Who would know what's the right thing to do?
Would be
with their lines, it'd be all
right,
over.
Because Sue Costello, when she got onto the show with Candice Berg and whatever.
Oh, yeah. What was that called? Something
Murphy Brown?
Murphy Brown. She got the part. But she was always changing the lines, and they fired her.
They did?
No, they fired her because she could annoy a mannequin. She hates me, and I don't know why. I never did anything.
She hates you. Why? What happened?
Who could hate you? You're so lovable.
I had a radio show, okay? And it was at Sirius. We got paid nickels, you know. We had guests. We didn't get. It was the fun thing. Everybody read dick jokes, and we had a free for all. And then we go out and we told people, you got to be here at such and such a time. It's going to last this long. And we always go out to the Palm and get a steak afterwards. All right, but along the way, at some point, we said we're spending 3 times as much at the Palm than we're making, and we tried the Carnegie, and the Carnegie was so much more fun because that was so much more.
Yeah,
5 people sitting around being loud as opposed to we're sitting in the middle of the Palm and people, will you keep it down? Will you keep it down?
Yeah.
So Costello comes and we do the show. She was adamant. I was told I was going to the Palm for a steak. The motherfuckers took me to the fucking Carnegie. Carnegie. What are they doing to Carnegie? I said,
with that Boston accent. She's this big.
I know.
She's a skinny
and
little bit.
I love her. I think she's adorable.
I do
And she
too.
was so pissed off. And then she had a gig, and I went to the gig, and the guy who had the gig was a huge Stern fan. He asked me to come over and have lunch with him someday. I went over to have lunch. You tried to take my fucking gig. Oh, my fucking Lord.
Really?
I swear.
Yeah,
of course I didn't.
Comedians are like that. See, I wouldn't even care if somebody took my gig. I'd be like, you could have it.
You know, this
Touch
Carrie's
my
very
cock.
giving.
Just do it.
I'm very
Just
giving.
touch my cock, Carrie.
I don't.
You can't even remember fucking your
I
husband.
can't. It might have been
Come
a
on,
week
within
and
the
a
last
It
half.
might have been a week.
A
It might have
week
been a
and
year.
half ago,
Her
maybe.
daughter might hear this. That's why she's not saying
Last
it.
night, but he wasn't there.
I just hope your daughter's not with him.
I know, really.
So this is you guys are so great. You make me think of so many gazillion stories.
Listen, you
I'll
are
tell you
very
horrible
funny.
Peter Bales. It's
Come on, tell us a Peter
we
Bales
have we
story.
have a statute of limitations, right?
Yes.
Bale, we all used to go to the comic shop in Fort Lauderdale, and there was a very friendly waitress. And
Very.
and she,
The waitresses
friendly.
were very
she loved
friendly
the
back
comics,
then.
and she was great. And at some point,
Ask Angel
Bales
Stone.
decided that he was in love with her. I guess
Peter
it was always so. In the beginning, it was crazy because comedy.
But wasn't he married?
No.
Oh, okay.
Comedy was just starting in the early '80s, and the comedy clubs started popping up, and it sucked because the guys would go to a town, and here's the waitresses, and they're waiting at a comedy club, and so the next wave of comics that come the next week, you hit on a waitress, and she's like, no, I'm engaged to Bobby Collins. You know, because these guys are promising the moon and fucking the wait. I don't know if it was Collins, but just to give you
it
an
was Angel
example.
Salazar.
No, I'm in love with Dennis Wolfberg, really.
Right.
So it was really crazy. So Bales, he hated coming back to New York because it was like leaving her in a China shop with all his bulls, you know. And I was So I was just telling the guy, I said, I haven't been to a comic shop in a million years. I very rarely came here, but in the very beginning I came a couple times. And I came, and I was sitting there, and Bales was emceeing. And we were talking about it because the stage was where it is now.
Right.
I guess it was moved for decades. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was on that side.
So
Yeah.
Bales is up there, and I guess it was bothering him. And in the middle of his set, he was emceeing in the middle of his set. He says, Martling, tell me who was fucking Donna. And I said, it'd take a lot less time to tell you who wasn't.
Because he's still in love with her.
He's still pissed off.
Oh, my God. Well, waitresses were known for that back
They
then.
were.
I mean, there's a joke. You know the joke, right?
What's the joke?
How do you give a comedian a hard on? Put on a skirt. Put on a apron.
No, the joke was the guy takes the girl back. The comedian takes the girl back to the waitress back to the room, and he's banging her, and he goes, "I can't believe I'm fucking you." She goes, "I can't believe I'm fucking a feature act."
I never heard that. That's so cute.
How about Rich Scheidner? You all know the Rich Scheidner joke? He was married to Carol Leifer, right? And he's down at one of these clubs in the Midwest or whatever. And Carol Leifer is headlining the next weekend, and she's talking to the waitress, and she's going, "Oh, my God, the guy last week was so cute. He was so hot." She goes, "Oh, I fucked him hard," and blah, blah, blah. And Carol Leifer goes, "Really? Because that's my husband." And that was like that was the end of the marriage.
Well,
Rich Scheidner used to
obviously.
bang waitresses on the road. But
They
no.
all did.
They all did, right?
I used to go into these gigs where it was a condo gig or like a Kephart gig in Atlantic City, and on the refrigerator would be a big sign, and it would say, "Comedians, please, no waitresses, no women back in the room, no parties in the room." And so I
Right.
asked the guy at the show, I go, "What's the thanks to Angel Salazar?"
He always ruined it for everybody. Oh, my God.
Him and JJ Ramirez, the two disgusting.
No, that's not fair. You're just singling them out because they're horrible people. No, I love them both. I don't know which one's which.
Yeah, I don't either.
I like, you know what? I like the
one has
tall
an
one.
accent.
I like the tall
Yeah,
one.
that's fun.
The tall one with
The one
the
that's
accent.
5'6",
They're
the tall
all
one.
The one
They're
that's
all
4'11".
Oh, it's been so much fun.
Why do you think you remember jokes so much? Like, what do you have, a photographic
Yeah, how do
memory?
you do
Or
that?
What's up with
I
that?
can't even remember my
It's
act.
very simple. It's very simple. It's funny because when you start getting famous, people always ask, frequently ask questions, and pretty soon you find out you can't go, "I don't know," because that doesn't go well on an interview in the news. Well, I don't know. So you start to remember. And people, of course, if you're a joke teller, hey, when did you hear your first joke? When did you tell your first joke? Now, I who really knows? But I thought back to something very distinct. And when I was a kid in third grade, we were having a snowball fight. And this is probably in the book, but I always love telling this story because I relive it in my head every time. I'm in third grade. He's in fourth grade. He's in fifth grade. It's a small town, so it's a small group of guys,
Yeah.
and we're having a snowball fight. And in those days, you didn't have dryers, so you threw the clothes in and they got heated up. You would sit there and drip dry and freeze your balls off until
Right.
you were
Not feel
dry
your fingers,
enough
right.
Yeah.
and warm enough to go out and finish the snowball fight. So we're sitting there freezing. And my cousin walked in, who was in 8th grade. Now, if you're in 3rd grade and your cousin's in 8th grade, that's the Pope. And he walked in and took out a piece of paper and he read a dirty, filthy poem that wound up being one of the oldest classic.
You remember it?
Well, yeah, it was it was one of those things that went around. First, it went around as a mimeograph, like they make it the church socials, and you could smell the formaldehyde or whatever the fuck it is. And then it went around as a Xerox, and then it was as fax, and then it was. But what's funny is he did it, and over the years, I pieced together so much of it. I wanted to go through, but it was the night before Christmas when all through the house, everybody in the family was drunk as a louse. Grandma and Grandpa were singing a song, and the boy in the bed was beating the shit out of his dog. All right, and by then I'm dying. I was so young that one of the lines was, Ma and me settled down for a nice piece of tail. I had no idea what a fucking piece of tail was. There's stuff in there I didn't know what it was. But I looked around and my friends were enchanted. They were mesmerized. It was so cool, or whatever the word would have been in 3rd grade. And something must have just clicked. And from that day on, I've remembered. I can't say every joke, but almost every joke, clean or dirty, they have just stuck. And it's just one of
so
those things.
weird. I can't even remember my own jokes a lot of times.
But
Like,
what's so weird?
I
is-
can remember yours.
What's
Yeah,
so
you can
weird
remember mine.
Is
I know, I
I
did
had
them.
no idea that it was weird. I figured I was raised in America on Long Island. and I heard these jokes, and that everybody else in America, growing up, every other guy grew up in America, and they heard these jokes, and they knew all these jokes. And I never thought there was any, hold on, I never knew there was anything special about it at all. And cut to years and years and years later, I heard about this place, Catch a Rising Star. I was still a musician, not a comedian. Me and my friend Archie came in, and it was audition night. We sat there, and everybody sucked. Everybody sucked. And at one point, Kelly Rogers was the MC, and he went in to get a hamburger or something, and there's nobody minding the store. And you know how long 5 minutes is if you suck? Somebody bailed. And there's a blank stage. So a girl jumped up on stage, and she was so drunk, and she stumbled through a horrible joke and brought the house down because everybody was so fucking hungry to laugh, right?
Right.
He comes back in, get the hell off the stage, blah, blah. And then David Say, tag team, now David Say is the MC. Same thing, blah, 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 blah. It's getting late. David Say goes out to get a drink or a hamburger, and somebody bails. And my pal Archie says, get the fuck up there. So I went up on stage and told one of the oldest, stalest jokes that I'd known my whole life, figuring everybody knew the joke, but I'm going to go up there and do it anyway because I'm a little bombed. And I start the joke, and I see over on the side, I see David Say come back through the velvet curtain, but he didn't come up and stop me. He stays there. And I brought the house down. And I got off, you know, and I'm walking out. He says, say, that was a pretty good joke there. And I said, well, thanks, man, but you know that joke. He says, yeah, I never heard that joke. I said, what do you mean? That? He said, nah, it's really, really fucking great. And I swear to you, the light bulb went off like, wait a minute, if the MC at Catch a Rising Star in Manhattan doesn't know that joke, maybe there's other people that don't know the joke. And it turns out nobody knows them. The people that had heard them don't remember them. The people that remember them don't care because I tell them, people tell me all the time, I'm laughing before you get to the end. Then I realize I know the fucking joke.
There are certain people that can tell a joke, and then there's certain people that can tell a fucking joke. Like, he could tell a joke. He brings light.
He's animated.
The joke is like, even if you've heard it, you haven't heard it the way
he tells it.
I don't know, and I don't, you know,
They're
of course I
tellers.
ham the shit out of it, but I don't, it's so innate. You know, I told jokes for 4 years to this guy at the Pantry Man at Piper Rock Country Club when I was the head busboy there all through high school, and this guy was a wooden Indian. So, and I'd tell him joke after joke after joke, and I would just laugh and howl because I'd be laughing at this fucking Dutchman, Dutchman Jake. I named him my cat after him, this guy Jake, and the dishwasher'd come over and he'd watch me break my balls. So I don't know whether maybe I'm just laughing at Jake not laughing. I don't know, but it got so innate that I can't not laugh.
Yes.
It's harder for me to hold back the horses. It's a very odd thing. And, you know, I got so fucking lucky because if you're a comic, there's two rules. You don't laugh at yourself, and you don't tell old jokes. That's all I do is those two things. I don't do anything else.
But if you do
it
it
works
well.
for you.
But he does it well.
But it's
Exactly.
odd, you know. But
Do you
it's
ever get people come up to you after the show and they go, you want to hear one? And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear one. Did you? And they're going to tell you that joke, and you got to pretend that you're.
That's right.
And it's the most boring thing you've ever heard. But if he comes up to you, you're going to be laughing the whole time.
I'll
It's
tell
like-
you, my whole life, from third grade, fifth grade, whatever, you know, I really do know not all the jokes, but a real lot of them. And I've listened to everybody forever and ever. You know, I'm smart. I graduated from Michigan State as a mechanical engineer. But I tell people I use my diploma to roll pot, okay? I never use it. All I use my brain for is to do these jokes. And I've listened, like in a bar. You know, you'll tell a joke, I'll tell a joke. You'll tell a joke, you'll tell a joke, I'll tell 5 jokes. But every night I was always the last one standing. But I would ride it till the end because if I heard a new one, I'd very rarely, but if I heard a new one, it would be like discovering gold. And it was so, in 1975 I was in a band. And we told dirty jokes. We played original songs and told dirty jokes. We were a fucking hoot. There was no video yet. You know, the day we quit, they invented the video camera. You know, there was one year that nobody had a VCR, and the next year everybody had a VCR.
Right.
And that's when my band... So we would tell jokes and play songs, And, of course, people would come up on the break and say, oh, yeah, I got one for you. And I used to tell people, I'll tell you what, I will count down from 10. And when I get to 0, if I haven't told you the punchline, I'll buy you a beer. And that's 1975, and I never bought anybody a drink.
That is so. But you did it also on the Stern Show, where people would do.
Because you
Try
get
to
to where if a
stump
guy
him.
says a
Stumping.
cowboy and an Indian are riding along the plains, it takes 2 seconds for me to go, oh, this is the nun and the Arabian walking on
But
the
why?
desert.
See, but like you must have a photographic memory in other things, or is it
no,
just
it's
jokes?
not photographic because it's just some kind of logic. It's some kind of logic because I couldn't.
Some sort of autism.
I couldn't do. I couldn't learn French, which is just memorization. It's not.
Yeah, so it's
Yes.
it's because of how you actually Barbara, your girlfriend,
'Cause he liked it.
Barbara Klein says that you are good at math. So math and jokes are similar.
Jokes are little problems. You're given a certain amount of information, and there's a solution. You know who? I'll tell you a great story.
Okay.
I don't know if it was in the book, but this is great. I love this story because it's a true story.
Okay.
I was at a film festival, the Long Island International Film Expo. That's from my friend Debbie. And this 60, 70-year-old Jewish guy comes up to me and says, Jackie, I got a story. You got to hear this. He said, years ago, my music teacher told me this. He said, my music teacher's grandfather was Yosel Rosenblatt. I'm pretty sure I'm getting the name pretty close. Yosel Rosenblatt, one of the most famous cantors. He was a great humper. No, he was one of the great cantors in the entire world. Now, this is the turn of the century, so he knew all the glitterati because the cantors were famous people. So he knew Enrico Caruso, and he knew the New York Yankees, and he knew whoever was, you know. And one of his best friends was Albert Einstein. And he told his grandson, this guy's music teacher, that Albert Einstein loved filthy jokes.
Really?
And Albert Einstein's favorite dirty joke?
What?
He said, my dick isn't that big, but I love every foot of it. How great is that? How great! And then they had the show on Genius, and he's a pussy hound. Albert Einstein married his own cousin, and he's knocking people.
Really? I didn't know that about
no,
him.
no. Know that.
He was brilliant. He was a little off.
They're all a little off.
No, but you know,
Every man, absolutely.
What if can I try a joke on you, see if you know the ending?
Sure.
It's one line. It's 2 lines. What's the most useless thing on a woman's body?
Her husband.
Close. An Irishman.
Oh, okay.
It's the same thing.
It's the same joke.
It's the same
yes.
joke, but he knew it.
So
But
Sylvia,
nobody ever knows that joke, and you know that.
So Sylvia,
Oh, he's
Sylvia was a child actress,
Okay.
and now she's 58 years old, and she's 5'2", and she weighs 225 pounds. And she goes to the rabbi, and she says, Rabbi, Bernie and Irving both want to marry me. Who will be the lucky one? And the rabbi says, Bernie will marry you. Irving will be the lucky one.
I wish I could remember jokes
that a
like
great
that.
Jew joke?
It's a great
hilarious.
joke. You tell me that joke, and I think, oh, that's a funny joke. I know he does,
the face.
but I can't remember.
It's
Like, I can leave
hysterical.
today, and they'll go, what's that joke Jackie
I
told
don't
us?
know.
All right, I have
know.
the solution. Every day at 4:20 p.m. International Marijuana Time.
Yes.
I haven't had a drink in 17 years, but I'm making up for it with weed. Every day at
you have
4,
an outlet.
Every
That's an
day at
outlet.
4:20
I think
p.m.
weed's not bad, though.
I don't even smoke pot. I forget. 4:20 p.m. I tweet a joke every day at 4:20 p.m. I'm up to like 40,000 people listening in or whatever they do, tweeting in or whatever, and they complain and they bitch and they moan and they complain, but they keep coming back because. And
They
I put
love
the
the
world's worst jokes. I've been taking the world's worst old Polish jokes, and all the old Polish jokes are horrible.
They're horrible.
But it's so fun to make them into Trump jokes, you know.
Oh, that's great.
Trump took his son's ice fishing, and they came home with 45 pounds of ice. That's just so fucking funny.
Why are there no Polish ballerinas? This is the only other one I know from grade school. Why are there no Polish ballerinas?
Because when they do splits, they stick to the floor.
God damn it, you know the joke.
I've never heard of it.
I've
You
never
know-
heard that either.
The classic is the Polish guy went to the ballet, and he turned to his friend and said, why don't they just get taller girls? I've been doing this. I'll tell you.
I know 3 jokes, and he knows
so
both of
many
them.
stories about people, and this is another thing that's in the second book. There wasn't much in this book, because just the stories about Stump the Joke Man are endless. The people that think they're going to get you. You know, we were in Cannes, and Cuba Gooding is in the front riding shotgun, and my friend Tom Bernard, who's the president of Sony Pictures Classics, is driving. I'm in the back seat, and he's like, yeah, you know, Jackie knows every joke in the world, and Cuba's like, Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. You'd
And he
think
turns
can't.
around and he goes to start what's probably his favorite joke, and he got a syllable out. And I told him the punchline, and we didn't go white, but he almost went white.
He went gray.
It happens with people that there's stories about that happening. I was at Cannes, and there was a huge party across from the Carlton, across the Crusette. There's is the beach, but they put up these huge tents and have these ornate parties. It's unbelievable. And I get to go because I'm with my friend Tom. And I'm standing there, we're having a good time, and Michael Madsen comes up to me.
Wait, who's Michael Madsen?
The character actor.
I don't know.
Virginia Madsen's brother.
Oh, that guy. I
Michael
know. Okay,
Madsen.
yes, sorry.
And he comes up, and he's like 6'4", and he comes up and says, "All right, Mr. Joke Man." And he says 2 words, and I told him the punchline, and his jaw dropped, and before he could even say anything, I told him another joke on the same topic, and his head exploded, and in front of all these people, he went down to his knees. He's like, "I hail you, Joke Man."
It's unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable. It's a weird skill.
Did Howard laugh at your jokes?
No.
At the
Every
jokes?
time I told a joke, he would pretend he didn't get it, and him and Robin would say how horrible it was, and then people tell me they were driving along the
They were
road,
laughing.
and that they drove off the road.
Because it was so funny.
You know what? One of the greatest things, I don't think this was in the book either, was so terrific.
What?
We're sitting there, and Robin's doing the news at the end of the show, and she starts a story about a guy who was in a diner, and he was eating, and a mouse dropped out of the ceiling, the false ceiling, into his food. And I started giggling, and Howard's like, "Hold on, Robin." "What, Jackie? What, do you got a joke about the mouse in the food?"
Oh, my God.
I said, "Turn my mic up." And there's still people that tell me that they were driving along and almost got in a fucking accident. A guy goes in a diner and says, "I want a bowl of hot chili." And the waitress says, "I'm sorry, sir. The guy next to you got the last bowl." And he looks in, the guy next to him just about done eating, but the chili bowl's still full. He says, "You going to eat that?" And the guy says, "No, you want it?" "I love it, sure." He takes the chili bowl, starts eating the chili. Gets about halfway down, and his fork hits a dead mouse. And he goes, "Ugh!" Yeah, he pukes the chili back in the bowl, and the other guy says, "Yeah, that's about as far as I got."
That's disgusting.
And Howard's sitting there trying to
He
say
didn't
that's
laugh?
not funny. He's
He
trying to
didn't
say
laugh at that?
I don't,
God.
But wasn't that the whole
What's the matter with
Oh,
him?
chemistry
no, of
was
course.
him to say,
Oh, of course. I'm not
you
faulting him.
suck and
Right.
you this
I'm not
and you that.
faulting him for it, but it wasn't like, "Ha ha, Jackie, that's so funny. Tell another one,"
So now,
15
I loved
yeah.
you on that show.
I-
Why did you leave the show?
I asked for more money than they wanted to pay me. And I was so frightened. There's a billion, that's a whole discussion in the book, because there's a million, people tell me I'm full of crap. People say you did the right thing. People say you did the wrong, people in show business are like, you're making, $500,000 to sleep in your own bed,
Right, and go
plus
into the
make
city.
a gazillion dollars on the weekends selling out crap.
But
trust
then
me.
again, how much was the company making and all that, right?
Right. And I was so fucking, I don't care how rich you are. If you're miserable, there's so many rich, miserable people, but
I'd like to be miserable a little
I
bit.
needed to get some sleep.
You know what,
it was my fault. If I had taken a couple of naps, I'd have been fine. But after 15 years, I
Do
knew
you
I wasn't
regret
gonna
it now?
No.
You're happier now.
Also,
I knew I had to get divorced, and I didn't want that to get raked around in front of the entire nation. I knew I had to quit drinking, and I would have never quit drinking. But those weren't the reasons. I mean, and I'm full of shit. And I admit it in the book, because I said I'm leaving, but if they pay me this much, I'll stay. And they made a certain offer, and then after a while, I said, you know what? If the offer's still on the table, I'll take it. But it wasn't still on the table. But how much was by design and not? But but you move on. And
but
you
know
know,
what?
I've been
Can I just say, though?
every friend I have now I would have never met otherwise.
Also, if you were still drinking, you don't know what would have happened if you were still
Oh,
drinking.
fine.
I mean,
I could have died the next weekend.
That's right.
No, who knows? There's no
Right.
way.
And now you have a great girl, Barbara.
we love Barbara
I
Klein.
love Barbara.
You know Barbara.
She,
She's the
that was
cutest
Beautiful.
That was
Cutest
the whole.
thing.
That was the whole most wonderful thing.
That's
way
the
that
yak
happened.
pot. You hit the yak pot.
And that whole story and how that happened is just great. It's just great, because she was like, the more time goes on, the more she will admit,
Did
'Cause
you ever work
At first, it was like, oh, I guess I'll talk to this guy, and it turns out it was like, I don't think I want to go in there if that asshole's there,
Oh, wow.
because nobody knew me. All they knew, and it was, I'm sure I met so many guys who said, after they got to know me, like, God, you're not the asshole people say you are. I said, listen, the comics in Jersey that are working for $30 a night, and I'm making millions of dollars. What do you think they're going to say? What a great guy Jackie is? I couldn't be nicer. Anytime anybody worked
No,
with me,
I've always loved you.
Yeah,
Every
you're a
time.
doll. But you know what?
and
Like,
I've always been really, one thing, Howard told the world I was so cheap, and that used to drive my friends crazy, because there's nobody more generous than me. But he knew that was a button that made me nuts. So
Right.
that's his genius. But to this day, if a fan walked in here and saw me, they'd say, hey, Jackie, you want a Heineken? I know you're not going to buy me one, you cheap fuck. Let me,
Yeah.
You're right.
the labels stay,
Are you friends with any of them, like Gary? And I graduated with Stuttering John, right?
No,
You did?
Massapequa?
Yes. His parents spent millions of dollars to study. He couldn't get a word out. But
in high school.
in elementary,
Neither could John.
No, but they spent millions of dollars to get him to stop stuttering, and then that's how he makes his millions of dollars.
I know, that's the thing. You got to
Isn't that
just
amazing?
go with it at some point. I like the
Do
story.
you know that
Can you
joke
tell
about
that story
the
about
two guys in the doctor's office, and the one guy says to the other guy, why you in here? The guy says, I got a bad prostate. What, bad prostate?
Why you?
What's that mean? He says, I piss like you talk.
I love his laugh. It's
I know,
infectious,
it's crazy.
right?
What about
Every day at 4:20 at Jackie Martling, and get my book. These guys won't promote it. It's JackieTheJokeman.com. It comes up on
Bow to Stern.
Amazon. JackieTheJokeman.com.
I read it. It's fantastic.
Did you really enjoy it?
I swear to God, I loved all the stories. I don't. You can't tell the story though, right? Because it's
Well,
in the
I
book.
can, but it's. Do you like that it's modular, so you can put it down and pick it up?
Let me tell you something. It's great like that because it's very hard for me to read like
whole
right away
thing,
because
right,
I'm
'cause then
doing
you'll
stuff
forget.
all the time.
And you spend half your time looking for your fucking place, right?
Right,
Even
so-
if you have a bookmark, you spend
But
time.
you know what? It's like you read the one story. You read about the time with Stern and asking for more money and blah, blah. Then you read the Rodney Dangerfield story. Then you read about Les Paul. Then you read about your childhood
It's
at the
all
end
over
of the
the
story.
place, right?
It's all over. It's comedy. It's like it's some heartbreaking stuff.
Where can we get the book?
JackieTheJokeman.com. It comes right up on Amazon. It's being released October 24th. I got book signing.
Where's the book signing?
Ridgewood, New Jersey on October 23rd. The book review in Huntington October 24th on the release date. A Friars Club book party on Wednesday the 25th.
Wow.
And then I have the Upper East Side Barnes & Noble on Thursday. And then the Vault at Victor Records on Saturday. And my good friend Bill Porcelli got me a satellite book tour. And I'm not a big enough star to be doing that. And he's such a good guy where you sit there. And now I'm talking to Phoenix, and in 15 minutes I'm talking to Detroit.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
That is
it's
great.
So
That
much
is
fun.
great.
And all the DJs love to talk to me because they all grew up listening to
Listen to
Howard and
Howard,
loving
yes.
the
But
show.
you have a great
Absolutely.
radio voice too. You're.
Well, he's a singer. When
Yeah.
you start as a singer,
That's right.
you have a good voice.
Did
right?
you? So you guys, I finally circled back and made a CD of my music in 2007. I co-produced my music CD with one of the great guitar players in the world, this guy Frank Vignola.
Oh, I know Frank.
Frank Vignola, the comic.
I know he's a comic.
Yes.
It's so funny because
I know
everybody
Frank.
says I know Frank. It's not. How do you say that's not? It's not that Frank Vignola.
It's a different
okay.
Frank Vignola. All right.
But this guy,
Not the one. What's her name was banging.
I spent. Jesus.
I don't think you're supposed to say that
Oh,
out
okay.
loud.
I didn't say her name.
Okay.
You were banging who?
Not her.
Not me.
Oh, you're banging Adam.
No, not him.
I'm banging.
So
her.
I got to be very good friends with Les Paul, who was just one of the icons of all time, and he just was such. He's another guy. He invented the electric guitar. He was the biggest dirty joke fan in the world. So he fucking loved me.
you.
Yeah.
So I'd go up and he'd have fans, jazz aficionados in the audience to see this jazz legend on stage. He'd say, Jackie, get up here. And I'd tell 5 minutes worth of dick jokes. And he'd fall off his chair. And the people were like, what the fuck, But he was so great. But when I first met him, he said, you got to come down. And so I went down. I met him with Keith Richards from the Stones. It was just legendary, the whole thing.
That must have been so cool
Yeah, he
to meet
must have-
Keith
you-
Richards.
Oh,
I mean,
that's
you've
it.
met
He met a lot
everybody.
of
That's in the book.
everybody.
But I broke his balls. That's the whole thing. I fucked with him, which
Yeah.
was great, which he loved. So So I go to see Les Paul, and the guys playing with him are unbelievable. So after I've gone up a couple times, I mean, these are the greatest players in the world, and I'm up there saying, Dirty Johnny's got his finger in his ass, you know. So I'm in the dressing room, and I went up to Frank, the guitar player. I said, Frank, listen, I hope you guys don't get pissed when I show up and make a, turn the stage into a circus. He said, Jackie, are you kidding? We love the energy you bring up there. We love when you show up. I'm like, wow.
You wake them up.
Great. So the next time I come, we hang, smiling at Frank. A couple times later, Frank, I don't get mad, but do you smoke weed? He said, what are you, crazy? And I'm like, yeah. And I had some terrific homegrown at the time, and I gave him some pot. So now me and Frank are the greatest friends in the world. So I'm driving along in the car one night, and I know my stories go on too long, but
no, we're good.
But I'm in the car, and I have an old friend who lives in Las Vegas, and once in a while I would call her because she's 3 hours behind. So I went back and forth to the city very late at night, so there'd be no traffic. And so I'm in the car like 11 or 12 at night, and I'm smoking some pot, and I call her to talk to her, and I get her machine. And so I'm talking on the Bluetooth, so my hands are free to light the bowl, So I say, oh, I'm sorry you're not there. It's such a shame. Shit, I wanted to talk to you. Oh, well, at any rate, I'm smoking pot. I got my dick out, and I'm thinking about you. And I hang up. And I go,
what did I just say?
I'm smoking pot. I got my dick. Next thing you know, I'm singing. And the people in the other cars are like looking over, like, what's wrong with this guy? I go home to my house. I picked up my microcassette recorder and recorded it. Then I went back to my apartment and made a little video with my Canon recorder of me singing on the microcassette while I'm smoking pot. And I called up Frank, and I left a message, said, Frank, I just wrote either the world's worst song or the world's best song. Don't be insulted. I know you're a world-class musician. He called me back and said, that's the greatest fucking song I ever heard. We start recording it, getting together, and he says, this is so much fun. Do you have any other songs? And meanwhile, I was a songwriter in the 70s. I sucked. The song sucked. And we went and recorded a whole album. But you don't know the song I'm talking about?
No, what's the song?
Let's hear it.
Talk among yourselves for 2 seconds. Here.
Okay. How was your vacation, by the way, while he's looking that up?
Don't interrupt me.
We went to that horrible... Well, actually,
water park.
We went to a water park, but
Yes.
That can't be horrible.
No, it wasn't horrible. Kalahari.
With children.
Kalahari. I went because they thought it was calamari. No, but it's a really nice place. It's only $700 a night.
Jesus.
But you lose your kids, and which is the good part of the whole thing. And then whatever, everything's $1 million, and then you come back and everyone's on board again.
Jesus.
Sounds delightful.
All right, so you got no reception in this place.
Okay. Well, it might be because your thing is sharing something right now. Could that be it?
Yeah.
Can you sing it? Can you sing it
No,
by
because
yourself?
it's so classic.
Oh.
What's it called? I'll try to look it
It's
Yeah,
called
look at
And
it.
I'm Thinking About
Do you write joke jokes? Do you write jokes? Because you
No,
have a hack.
very
I mean,
few.
a hack. A knack.
That's all right. Very few, but I wrote one 2 days ago, and
What?
everybody
What
said it
is
was
it?
great because I was sitting in the subway, and I was looking, and you'd see the same thing over and over, so I wrote down, New Yorkers, if you see something, say something. New York Jews, if you say something, sell something. Which is just fucking stupid.
It is. It's good.
Sell something.
You know what the thing about you is you're like the thing that you are always a businessman. Like before people had like comedy records or CDs or whatever VHS, you had not only one, you had a lot of them. And then you had the T-shirt, wine, and you would like cross promote everything you did. Like you'd go on Stern and then you'd be like, so it was like you always had a business sense.
No, what happened was I was a musician, and we recorded that song that made me the Yulbrenner or whatever it was Anthony Newley of Long Island.
Oh, yeah.
And oh God,
You got it.
Got it?
and I learned just enough to know that any schmuck can have their own album, and then I met Richie Minervini, and we started doing shows, and I started telling jokes instead of just playing my guitar. And I kind of segued from my band, and I was playing songs and telling jokes, and then I saw those guys, so I started telling jokes and playing songs, and we started a show that was the very, very first all stand-up comedy show on Long Island. Me and Minervini and the guys came out from from the city and everything, and that grew into the East Side Comedy Club. But we're at Cinnamon, and I came home and I said to my girlfriend, they laugh every time I open my mouth. I should make a record. She said, so make a record. I borrowed $100 from 15 different people. And
sounds like Carrie.
And recorded an
Smart.
album. I recorded on cassette. I put it on reel to reel. I cut it up with a razor blade. Took my class picture where I was giving the finger. Borrowed $1,500 and sent the whole thing to Nashville. I got an album. And then here I'm standing at the door when people are leaving, selling my albums for $5. And all the guys, Woods and Hawthorne, they're all breaking my balls. What an asshole I am. And all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute.
Brilliant.
We each made $35 tonight.
and
He
he
made
made
an extra
$700.
$50. Yeah.
Right, you're tripling your money or whatever.
Not so stupid.
And that's how you got Stern, right? From sending that.
Well, by the time it was 1982, when I found out about him, I had 3 albums out. And me and Nancy was sending them everywhere. And they said, oh, there's this disc jockey came to New York from Washington, D.C. We just sent him blind.
See, that's
Wow,
really smart
that's
to do.
smart.
Now, are you
But
still
you know what that is?
friends
That is
with him?
No fear. He has no fear.
I know, he's balls out. Are you still friends with Stern? Like, can you go on his show and promote your book?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
That's.
You're not friends.
Well, I
after
don't
all-
know.
How many years were you on?
I don't know that I can't.
How many years
Would
were
you ask
were
him?
on his show?
Hold on. You gotta
16 years.
You got it?
You on 16 years, and he won't do that
No,
for you?
I haven't asked. That's not fair to say that.
Okay.
Maybe you should ask.
I'll ask him.
Carrie will be your new
When I
manager.
audition for America's Got Talent.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that. I wonder if he would let you
All
promote
you have
it.
to do is hear the opening bar, the opening. Oh, this thing. Your stupid show.
I think I might
You
have
got it,
Oh, we are
Adam?
so
Adam's
on.
got
I
it.
might have it.
All right.
Go.
Is that it?
Yes.
Turn. We hear it?
He's
got it.
You hear it?
Turn it up.
Is that it?
Turn it up because we can't hear it.
I
Oh,
can
need
hear
my, I
it.
need my
Got Patty, really?
God damn it. Where's the headphone?
I like the laugh.
I'm smoking pot. I got my dick out. And I'm thinking about you. And I'm thinking about you. I'm smoking pot.
Woo!
I got my dick out.
Woohoo!
And I'm thinking about you. Just you.
That's enough.
Oh, it's in different voices, too.
Who's that voice?
That's the guy singing the low part. But it goes on and on
The same
for
line?
5 minutes.
With the same.
And it gets so disgusting and so great and so fun. That was our theme song
I
for
love
my.
it.
I had a radio show on Sirius called Jackie's Joke Hunt for 8 years, and that we played that every show, and people
Jackie's
just
Joke Hunt.
loved it.
I love it. You know who does those disgusting song parodies? Dr. Dirty. You ever work for him with John Balby?
No, but I've known him and met him for decades and decades. This isn't a parody. This is actually
An
standalone,
original
right.
song.
Yes,
ridiculous
right.
original
A
song.
ridiculous. But he does disgusting.
Oh yeah, he's great. They love him.
They love
him
him.
forever.
So how'd you become friends with Artie? Artie did your intro, and he said all like beautiful, wonderful things about you. He's your replacement. How do you become friends with a replacement?
He was not my replacement.
Oh.
I left in March.
Okay.
They tried 100 different people in my chair, supposedly. Artie didn't join the show until after 9/11, which is 8 months later.
Oh, okay.
And Artie told me that when he was a kid in the 80s, one day his father came home and said, there is this radio show that's so funny, and there's this guy on it that's so fucking great, Jackie Martling, you got to hear this. So his introduction to me was his father telling him how great I was. And Artie and his friends used to come to the Rascals and see me, and they loved me. And he was like, God, I can't imagine what it'd be like to have that job. And then he wound up with the job. But it wasn't through any animosity or anything weird between us ever. And then, and I actually went back on the show here and there very sporadically. But whenever I saw him, we were pals, and then I did his podcast, 4 or 5 times.
Oh, okay.
And then asked him if he'd do the forward, and he said he'd be glad to. And he's doing the audio forward, too.
Oh,
I
that's
went and
nice.
did the audio version. It was so much fun. You'd think it'd be such a drudgery.
Oh, this is on audio?
Yeah, it's not out yet, but when I sat there and read the whole thing, and
That's
the guy
great.
said this is one of the best, author-read autobiographies that they've done.
'Cause
And
you're a
it's audible,
performer.
and
You're a
it's audible,
performer.
so they've done a lot of them. So it was,
I think I'd like that better.
I could
Yeah.
get
To
lucky.
listen to his voice.
I know. That's
doing the story.
Yeah, telling the
the
stories.
story. It's
As,
just
long
great.
as at some point, it's a little bit raises on the blackboard here,
No.
Not me.
No, but it's fun.
I love
It'll be
raisins
fun
in
because those guys said it was fun.
And he doesn't go on Stern anymore, right, Artie? Or is he?
He does, as far as I know, he doesn't. He doesn't. I don't. Gilbert doesn't. No,
Oh, really? Gilbert doesn't either?
But not that he doesn't. They don't have him.
It's so weird that you can be friends with somebody.
Peter
and then...
Bales said.
Peter Bales.
Yeah,
What does he have to say?
He said, "I saw Jackie stumped at Rascals audience member. What is black and white and goes up and down?" Jackie said, "I'm stumped." Audience
And the guy
member
said, "Your neighbor."
Your weight.
Wait, I don't. Your weight.
I can't see. I don't have my glasses.
doesn't sound right.
It's a wrong quote, but he's.
Oh, your weight.
It was a very
I
funny
see.
story. It was at Club Benet, and I had been on Nutrisystem 2 or 3 times when I was on the Stern Show. I'd lose 40 pounds, and then all of a sudden I'd be back to 200, and then I'd be 170, and then I'd be 210. And somebody in Club Benet, he's not lying. Somebody in the back corner said, "What goes down but always comes back up?" And I'm thinking it's a sex joke. And he goes, "Your fucking weight."
That's hilarious.
You know what's even worse? I used to have license plates that said the Joke Man, right? And I was at the upper deck in Lake Kapotcong.
Oh my God, I remember that
This
place.
crap hole, this
Holy
Palazzo's crap
shit.
hole. And I'm killing and I'm having fun. And then I'm playing Stump the Joke Man. And the guy stands up in the back and says, "Where's your license plate?" It was some kind of goofy joke, and I go, I don't know. And he holds it up and goes, "Right here, asshole!"
Oh,
and he ran out of the place. And a couple of weeks later, people have tchotchkes in the bar behind the bartender.
Yeah.
They said the Joke Man license plate was hanging behind the bar.
Crazy.
Hey, Bales, I hope you were listening. I told a story about you,
He
and it
did.
wasn't about that the time you had sex with Maynard Krebs.
Is that a true story?
What?
That he banged Barbara Eden?
Not he. No, of course not.
I know he
Adam Leslie made up that
buys
story.
it.
Adam Leslie made that story up, and I don't think it's fair to talk about that when Peter's not here to defend himself.
You can
he
defend
said-
himself
he said he
on
did.
Adam Leslie
he's-
and Fred Gwynn double teamed the woman that played Wednesday on the Addams Family.
Okay.
Wait, say that again.
They double teamed him.
Who did?
Dennis
Adam Leslie.
Wolfberg and
Dennis
Glenn Hirsch
Wolfberg
were
and-
together in Florida, and there was a girl named Unit, and they all went out for breakfast.
All right. Well,
Wait a minute. I
I
can't
can't-
picture Dennis Wolfberg, first of all, banging anyone with those crazy fucking bug eyes. Let's be honest.
let's be honest.
He would have to be behind the girl.
Yes.
Because that
He-
guy
Well, behind
was,
the guy behind the girl.
He liked pussy more than Albert Einstein.
Get out of town.
God.
But he was married, wasn't he? But he's dead now, so we can talk about it.
He wasn't married till much, much, much.
Oh, I look how
Wait.
guys cover for each
Yeah,
other.
they really
no,
do.
I'm not
When
covering
guys
for,
telling
you
fuck
forget.
stories about other guys, they go,
No,
yeah, that was
no,
great.
you
Yeah,
forget.
but
I
he's
go
right.
way
He's
back.
going way
Oh,
back.
okay.
I was
All
on the
right.
Stern and
All
off
right.
and running before he even
All
found
right.
somebody
Okay.
who'd date him.
But let's go back to Peter for a second. He also said he banged Rosie O'Donnell,
What?
which I believe.
Wait a minute, Peter Bales.
That's why she's a lesbian
Rosie
now.
O'Donnell?
That's
How is
what
it
he
possible
said.
she's a lesbian? Did you hear that story, Jackie? Wait, let's see if Peter has anything to say.
Rosie O'Donnell
No, he
was
doesn't.
madly in love with Peter.
Okay.
I don't
She
know if he ever
was.
sealed the deal, but she certainly wanted him to.
Oh.
They were all in an improv troupe. Nancy was in it. My ex-wife
Yes.
Nancy was in it. Dave
She was a comic?
Hawthorne. No, but she was an improv
Okay.
actress. And Bales, I don't think Bales was even running the troupe at that point. It was Bales and a whole bunch of them. And Rosie, back in those days, she only weighed about 300. She was she was a cute Irish girl with
She
ruddy
was
cheeks. She
cute
was a
when
little
she-
thick. She had nice arms, but they were her
little.
thighs.
Thick. A little
She had a
thick.
big head. She was a big-headed girl.
Oh, she was a big-headed girl.
That is so interesting. I didn't know that was going on.
Even
there.
her doll that they made had a big head.
I want to know. Okay, 16 years on Stern. Your favorite guest, the biggest asshole on the show. Favorite guest. Who'd you like? Who'd you hate?
Me and Fred would always be enthralled when Pat Cooper came through the door.
Pat Cooper
'cause
was so
it was
funny.
never a dull moment. It
Oh,
was
my God.
always fun. He was just such a champion. Kinison would come on. That could go either way. He was a character.
Were you friends with him, with Kinison?
Yeah, very good friends with Sam.
And you guys must have partied together because
Well,
that's back when you drank.
This guy Jim Balatzos.
Oh, yeah,
the
Jim
story.
Balatzos.
I guess the story of Kinison is that's going to be in the next book. I
Can
don't
you
think
tell
it's in
it or no?
Yeah, I don't care.
Tell it.
In those days, in the very beginning, there were no comedy clubs or anything, and
Well, where'd you do comedy?
I had played in a band, and then when I split off from the band, I had a guitar amplifier and 2 extension speakers and a microphone, and I'd sit there and play songs and tell jokes and play songs. And then when I met the guys, you know, Eddie Murphy and Bob Nelson and Bartlett and all those guys, I was doing single gigs at clubs. So they would come to my gigs because it was stage time. They could get up and tell some jokes on mic because there's no place to do that at the time. So I started, I had a show in every goddamn crap hole on Long Island. There was a time when I set up the stuff and we were supposed to do a comedy show, and the owner's like, you better do the show, and you're not going to get paid. And I had to turn off the hockey game that was in double overtime, and it's a miracle that I didn't get killed. And Carol Leifer said, I don't know where you got your fucking balls. I said, well, you want to get paid, don't you? You know?
He does have balls.
So I had these shows everywhere, and Ron Richards, who was a great comic.
Remember Ron Richards?
Ron Richards was doing the same thing in New Jersey that I was doing. He had a sound system and a mic, and I book you and you. You know, I get $250 or $200 for the show. I pay you 30 or 40. You were 30, 40, and I pay myself 30 or 40, and another 50 for my trouble. You know, not ripping anybody off. He's providing work, and everybody loved it. Then this guy Jim Balazzo started doing it after things had gotten going a little bit. So I wasn't really putting the shows on anymore. I don't know if I was doing Governors yet, but I was doing a little bit better. You know, you didn't have to scrap up. You know, you didn't have to shake the blanket so much. You know, shake the bushes so much. So what you do is you'd meet people at the Improv. You know, you'd get picked up at the Improv, and they would drive you to the gigs. So I'd come in by train, and it was so fun. In the very, very beginning, I used to come with my guitar, my props. I used to carry a stool. They were all like, you know, because you didn't feel like you could do anything without your security blanket.
I was a prop
and
act
slowly
also.
but surely, you know, I remember so clearly the night I took my guitar off. It was a huge, huge thing. But so I would do Palazzo's gigs. And he got to a point where he was doing well enough that he had a van, had a sound system, and a couple of decent speakers. And he was doing well enough that he had a couple guys that worked with him. So they would go to the gig, and, you know, he'd keep drinking, and they'd set up the speakers. And he had roadies, not roadies, but he had assistants. And I remember going to a gig, or maybe two, where they're working, they're nice guys, and as they're setting up the equipment, one guy would go, ow! I'm thinking, oh, he's fine, you know, and, you know, and a few seconds goes by, and one of them will go, let me whore! And I'm like, you know, like he had Tourette's. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they'd be setting up, and they'd go, ow, ow! And I'm like, but this is in the back of your mind. You're not thinking anything of it, and they're getting such a kick out of it, right? So then one night I show up at the Improv, and I get in the van, and here's this little troll with a little beret.
Loved him.
And it's early on, and Balazzo says, Jackie, this is Sam. I brought him out from California. We don't know what's going to happen, but, you know, we're going to have a good time. So me and him start drinking, smoking, whatever we're doing. We're going to the middle of nowhere in Jersey, and I'll never forget, it was so far away, it was so long ago, that we actually physically had to tie up the disco ball so the crowd could see the stage better. I'm not making that up. Like, if you can even believe that. So Balazzo says, listen, Sam's a little different. So, Jackie, you host. And, you know, it took me decades. I finally found out that Max Dolcelli was the other act that night. Oh. Finally, somehow, after the decades, I always thought it was Steve Scrovan. And so that's an easy confusion. So, so he says, listen, Jackie, you host and save a lot of your stuff. You know, you have plenty of stuff, you know, because you might have to fill in afterwards. I don't know how they're going to take to Sam because he's a little different. I said, all right. And by now, you know, 40 minutes in, me and Sam are drinking beers and we're having the time of a lifetime. We're in love already. You know, that's, you know, you bond with somebody or you don't. You're rolling around the back of a van. What's not to love, right? So I say, now here's a guy from California. He's really great. Let's hear it for this guy, Sam Kinison. And I could still, it might not be true, but I could still see exactly what happened in my mind, at least, because it was implanted in my head forever. But he had his long raincoat on like a flasher, and his little beret, he's a little hunched over, and he starts pacing back and forth. And this is in the middle of Jersey, and it's early. It's like, it's not 79, but it's 80 or 81. It's like people are not used to other human beings being on the stage. It's one thing to watch comics on television. You accept that. Right. But other people, like for all practical purposes, your peers standing up there and facing you, and they're going to try and be funny. Like, what the fuck? Who do you think you know? Especially out, right? So it's a whole new thing to begin with. So here's this guy, and he starts pacing back and forth with the mic. He says, "You don't know me. You don't know me. But you're going to know me. You see this face? You're going to remember this face." And it seemed like he went back and forth for a long time. It might have been 30 seconds, but it might have been 3 minutes. I don't know.
Feels the tension.
It was an eternity.
Yeah.
And he just turned, and at some point he just leaned over and he said, "You're going to remember this face." And he put his face right in this girl's face and said, "Because I live in hell! Ow! Ow! I live in hell! Ow! I was married to a whore! A leper whore! Ow!" And whoa! And all of a sudden I'm hearing what had happened is they had gone to gigs and Balatzos had played tapes of Sam for his roadies. So when they were setting up, they were throwing Sam lines back and went, "Leper whore! Ow! Ow!" And,
So that's what you were hearing.
And that's what I was hearing. And so for half an hour, 40, whatever it was, he just barraged these people.
Did they love it?
Loved.
No. I told Richie's
loved
wife,
him.
I was just no, of course, everybody did, but
Some
That
people
time, they didn't
didn't.
know him yet.
no, don't.
They weren't ready.
It was so unlike anything Eddie
That's
had
right.
ever seen. And these people, there's a famous picture of these people that are in a movie theater with the 3D glasses on, and they're all like the Maxell commercial, little pinned back, like oh!
Yeah.
When I went back up on stage, it was like 70 people, like oh, like they had seen a ghost, and I did like 30 minutes of dirty jokes to get them going, and then I
Do you
came on
wanna
stage.
hear-
Sam said, "You're a great entertainer, man. What a fucking riot!" And then we were best friends on the way home in the van, and cut to 3 or 4 years later, he comes walking in the Stern Show, and he looks down. "What are you doing here, man?" I said, "I work here. What are you doing here?" So.
When I was in LA in 1983, I used to watch him live on stage, and he was brilliant. I mean, if anybody got up to walk out, he would fucking ruin them. So one night, he goes to this guy in the crowd. He's like, "Well, you're alone," and he's fucking ragging on him. He goes, "'Cause a woman fucked up, took your heart and ripped it out, and chewed it up, and spit it out. What's your fucking phone number?" He gets the woman's phone number, and he calls her up, and he goes, "This is Sam Kinison from the Comedy Store. You're a fucking," and whatever his name was is here, and he wants you to know you're a fucking whore. So he does the whole thing, and, everyone's laughing. It's hysterical. He hangs up on her, and all of a sudden, he's doing his act. Now he's on for about 25 minutes. With that said, she left her house. Whoever this girl was comes to the
You're
Comedy
kidding
Store. I
me.
swear to God, this was the sickest thing I've ever seen. Grabs a beer bottle off the table and wails it at him and hits him.
Really? Because that was part of his act. He did that every night. He would,
Wow.
But did he?
But he used to have them put a phone from Rascals. Would put a phone on the stage because there were no cell phones.
Right.
Yes.
What did he say when she hit him?
Well, then the show was over. I mean, he jumped off the stage, and,
Oh,
and
my
then they
God.
grabbed her. But it was, I thought it was like it was so surreal. You're like, this is part of the show,
And then it's not.
and it's not.
I think it was
The
very
first
real
time-
in the beginning, and then as time wore on, I think when it got to Rascals, he would have to call somebody in the back room. I don't think it was.
That he knew, right?
I don't think it could
The
continue.
first time I saw him was here at the comic strip, and I was taking a comedy class with Steve Schaefer. And Steve Schaefer goes to me. He was working that night. He goes, "You taking comedy?" He goes, "Come with me. You might want to see this guy because this is going to be different than anything you've ever seen." Lucian's wife comes barreling out. She goes, "I won't be in the room." She was a waitress. "I will not be in the room when that guy's on the stage." Two of the waitresses come out. They won't serve in the room. And I'm going, "Who is this Sam Kinison? What could be going on?" I go and I stand in the back of the room. I see this short little fat guy with a beret, with a coat.
Great.
But he's wearing black little sunglasses, and he's got a cane like a blind guy, and he's going up on stage, and an Indian, a big, tall Indian guy that he used to work with, is bringing him up on stage, but he's pretending to be blind, but he's taking the stick and he's whacking everybody on the way up, like beating them over the head, and people are like, what, and he's whacking them, and he gets to the stage, and he goes, my father told me that I should never jerk off, and like he's doing the whole thing about beating all, I mean, it was
He was
just
great, though.
It was
he
so-
was
just
brilliant. His
push the
material
envelope
was
and push the envelope. It was just fucking great.
because people didn't know what to think of him. Is he blind? What's going on with this
He
guy?
was just crazy.
He was crazy,
Wonderful
but
guy.
he was a man of. He was a preacher, right?
He had-
Well, no, he was
spoke
just- he
the
was
word
a-
of God, didn't he?
Up until I think when he was 10.
Well, what happened was
He was a child evangelist.
He was.
You know, come to Jesus. Put the money in the.
The kid would do that at 10?
Yeah, he did.
he got hit by a car. Same thing that happened to Roseanne Barr. He got hit by a car, Roseanne. And after they got hit by
Yeah,
the
but-
car, then this different personality came out that was a little crazy, and both of them went into comedy. So somebody, I think, getting hit in the head.
But Roseanne
Yeah,
must...
maybe you should go play in traffic. Go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
I'll go...
I was hit in the head, so maybe
No,
there's something to it.
I
don't-
wasn't yet.
No,
I mean,
he was
but
a,
it's
he
still
was
early.
a great fucking character.
Yeah.
But like sometimes on Stern, he wouldn't show up and stuff, right?
You know, no, he usually showed up. What happened was he showed up on Stern when he had forgotten to go to Joan Rivers. That was the classic
I
thing.
remember
where he
that
got
one.
he got so fucked up after the Stern show, he didn't go to Joan Rivers.
Yeah.
And his excuse was that he ate bad Chinese food,
Yeah.
which was like a
Hilarious.
just a funny catchphrase for, you know, so anybody that was late, would you have bad Chinese food? Oh.
He used to fight with Dice.
Dice.
Oh, yeah,
all
then
the time. That brawl was constant.
Oh, that was all great fun. You
Was
know,
that a bullshit fight, or did they really hate each other?
no, you know what? It was and it wasn't, and you know, there's such a fine line. You know, like there's always jealousies and non-jealousies. And Sam fought with Goldthwait. And,
He did?
You know, and he.
Why? Why? What was?
Because
What
it
would
was
he-
a similar
Because
act.
they,
Oh, 'cause
you know,
they both screamed.
people thought they were, and they couldn't have been more
They were
different. They were
Completely
just, they were
different.
just, you know, they were the same if you compare them to Paul Reiser. You know, not
Right.
compared to each other. You
Right,
know.
right.
So it's,
One had a dark side.
Yeah. you know who? You know, I got myself so divorced of all the comics and the stealing and who likes this and who doesn't like that. I mean, I go up and tell dick jokes. You know, when I started out, you know, the people in the city heard, oh, there's a guy on Long Island that tells jokes. You know, and they pictured a guy who picked up a book and learned some jokes and went on stage. And then one by one, they work with me and they realize I'm funnier than them because this is organic. I've been doing it since I was like 2 years old.
Right.
These jokes are ingrained in me, you know, like
Yeah.
it wasn't like
They're
I was
real.
looking for an easy way to the stage, you know. My band broke up and I was like, well, I'm not going to get a fucking job. What am I going to do, you know? I just
Everybody
love it.
loves you. Everybody's joining in. Everyone's like, Jackie. Peter Bell said he
Fuck Peter Bales. You better go buy my book, JackieTheJokeman.com. The
Peter's got,
Amazon
like-
page pops right up, JackieTheJokeman.com. Bales, if you don't buy one, I'm going to tell more stories about you.
The Joke
Yes.
Man about to Stern. A great
No.
read.
No.
Bow to Stern. God
Bow.
fucking damn it. Bow to
And
Stern.
I tweet jokes every
Why did I
day
get it wrong?
at 4:20. I'll tell you a great Peter Bales, Dennis Wolfberg story. Me and Bales and Wolfberg, I used to book the Ground Round, or maybe Ron
the
Richards.
ground round.
Wait a minute.
With the peanut shells
I
on
We're
worked
doing
the
the
Ground
We're
Round.
doing
Did I
the
do that
Ground
for you?
Round in Livingston, New Jersey,
Oh, my
and
God,
I
I did
pick
work-
up Bales and Wolfberg at the Improv, and we're going to go to Livingston, New Jersey, and we do the show at the Ground Round, and on the way there, Wolfberg is over the moon. He turned in his resignation that day. He quit his job as a school teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Full-time comedy.
Wow.
He's going to be a full-time comedian. He was so excited, and we do this show. But on the way there, my car overheats. Really badly. We're on the side. Now, imagine in this day and age, we actually walked off the highway and walked to the nearest house and asked them for water to put in my radiator. Nowadays, you'd get shot, right?
Right.
They gave us water. So by the grace of God, we called them up to come get us. And I have the amplifier and the speakers and the microphone and
The
me,
stool.
Bales, and Wolfberg. We say, you got to come pick us up. And then we're like, wouldn't it be funny if they came with a couple of people? The girl that came to get us had 2 people with her. You should have seen us in that car. We go back to the ground
Clown
round.
car.
We get done, and my car is on the highway a couple miles away. So I'm going to spend the night. One of the waitresses was so nice, and her
I'm sure
brother.
she was.
No. Wasn't fucking or anything, but they were so nice. So like, spend the night at our house, and my brother's a mechanic, and he'll help you with the car in the morning. I'm like, that's fine. But Wolfberg,
The hell is that?
Wolfberg couldn't stay over because his car was parked where they tow you at 6 a.m. Okay, so me and this girl had to take Bales and Wolfberg. There's a place where the highway turns off, where it's Route 3 going to Manhattan. Here's Bales and Wolfberg standing there at 3 o'clock in the morning, hitchhiking. As we turn around and say, "Good luck, Teach." You know,
Oh my
I
God.
said, that's good. That was a good move, quitting that fucking job. Oh, we laughed about that forever and ever, ever.
is
And I
funny.
woke up in the morning. They made me breakfast. The guy fixed my car. I came home. It was just great, just great.
Oh my God.
And they hitchhiked. They didn't even take them back to the
I used to
city.
hitch. Remember that
They weren't
hitchhiking?
it was Livingston, New Jersey. That's not too close, I don't think.
No, so they let
And
them
you,
walk.
and you asked Bales if that's a true story. An absolute true
I'm
story.
sure it is a true
Oh,
story.
God.
Oh my God.
I swear on Rosie O'Donnell's cock.
No, he wrote.
What did
so
he write?
he said that he only made out with her, and that was enough for Rosie to say.
Turn
become
lesbian.
To become a lesbian. Oh my God.
We had so much. Listen, we could. Oh man. there's
How'd you
so-
stop drinking? How do you stop drinking?
I'll
Me and Carrie, we both stopped drinking also. So this is a
But
trio of people who have stopped drinking.
I knew for a long time that I really did have to stop. I wrote a song called 3 Days Rest in like 1972 because I realized I couldn't go 3 days without drinking. And then I quit drinking, and I actually said to myself, if I write a song about this, maybe I'll be so happy that I got something accomplished that I'll forget the folly and I'll go get drunk. So I wrote the song and then got drunk. And I really did just drink and drink. And I wasn't a crazy drinker, and this is a great story for people that drink. I have a friend whose mother is 85 and her husband's 95.
Okay.
Nicest people in the world. And his mother had been an alcohol counselor for 60 years. And they became friends. They were one of those things where I'd go visit them without him, you know, when you get to be friends with them. The 95-year-old guy is literally a billionaire. He invented the swimming pool. He invented Sylvan pools. He was a landscaper, and they were putting in a pool for Oscar Hammerstein. In those days, they built forms and then filled in tons of cement. And he said, "This is stupid. We could spray cement." And he invented
very
Sylvan
smart.
pools that made
Wow.
billions. And he sold that and made so here's this billionaire, and I show up to visit them, and he's got a little piece of paper with the jokes he wants to tell me. You know, because it's an equalizer. People are all the same. So she's an alcohol counselor, and at some point she says, "You know, Jackie, we never talked about your drinking." And I said, "Well, you know, the truth is, I kind of feel like an idiot because people make a big deal about the fact that I quit drinking, and I still don't know the extent of my problem."
Right.
You know, I said to her, I never got up in the morning and needed a drink. I never sat and drank beers while I watched the ball game. Nancy and I never sat there and drank while we're watching Law and Order or something like that. And as I'm talking, I look, and she's got this big smile. And I said, "What are you smiling at?" And she said, "Anybody that uses the word never when they're describing their drinking is an alcoholic." How crazy is that? And here's somebody with 60 years experience.
That's
She's
true
right.
because
She's right.
you want to talk yourself out of thinking that you have
Right.
the problem.
Exactly.
So you go, because I could say, well, I never got really shit-faced.
I don't drink
I
in the
never-
morning.
yeah.
I never drink in the morning.
I
I never
wanted
got
to
in
drink in
I
the
never
morning.
got in a head-on collision.
I
you know.
never gotten a marriage never ended. Well, my marriage ended because he was gay. But
Ow,
we were drinking. But you know, like all the things that you think of with an alcoholic. But then, did I wait till 5 o'clock? And I couldn't wait to look at the clock. 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Did I have to drink every single day? And I couldn't wait a day, or I get anxious. You know, like all those things.
When I realized, all right, I was off the show, right? I had to be up at 4:30. Okay, so
Right.
how drunk can you get? You know, unless I had a gig where I'd get so hammered and I'd wake up, you know, the next day after the show's over, I'd look at the stack of notes I wrote for Howard and I'd say, "How'd they get there?"
Right.
You know, one of those things.
You were functioning
I was
with your
functioning.
drinking.
But for the most part, I got up early, but all of a sudden I'm off the show. So I got a lot of time.
Right.
And I realized I can't wait for it to be 5 o'clock every day.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's better that it never becomes 5 o'clock. And it was so funny because I had my rituals. You know, if we were going out, I would take a beer
Right.
for the ride there. And then sometimes it got so where I'd open a beer and I'd drink a beer while we're getting ready. It was funny because I'd be standing there tapping my foot and I'd be getting pissed off at Nancy. I didn't give a fuck about being late, but I was not going to drink until we got in the car. And so I'm sitting there and all of a
So
sudden
I was driving.
and I realized, wait a minute,
Kids, get in and get
if
that
I
beer.
drink a beer now, I won't be so anxious. So then I started just sitting there. I'd say, "Take your fucking time," and I drink one. And if I got kind of low, I'd finish it off and go downstairs and put the empty in the refrigerator and start another one, and then get in the car and start another one. And we'd get to wherever we're going. We're always the first people there, so we'd have the whole cocktail hour and order a couple drinks, so you'd have them there, so you wouldn't have to wait for the waiter to bring over the glass and the butter.
Right.
And then when it was over, I'd make sure I had a couple drinks and
For the drive home.
you know, and they come and pass around the coffee, and you order a couple drinks. And we were at a christening, and I just said, this. I had stopped the week before, and then I was out with Stuttering John, and he's like, "Well, what are you doing? You got to drink." And I drank, and I was so pissed off at myself. So then we're at a christening, and it was a Cinco de Mayo, totally by coincidence. I didn't even know it at the time. And we're sitting there, and it's the end of the dinner, the end of the christening, and the coffee cups are there, but I got my beer goblet. It's a low rent thing, and the waitress comes down. She's got a pitcher of beer and a thing of coffee. And, and you're giving you beer and you call whatever you want.
Right.
And I'll never forget this because I pushed my goblet away and turned over my coffee cup. And I'm telling you, Nancy looked at me like she saw a ghost. She said, what? And I said, and I pointed to the coffee, and the woman filled up my coffee. And I looked at Nancy, and I said these exact words. I said, "I'm done."
Oh my God.
And that was it. That was Cinco de Mayo 2001. And except for
That's great.
That is
accidentally picking up a Diet Coke that I thought that was somebody's rum and Coke and having an accidental sip.
And licking somebody's tits.
I did that
Oh,
too.
did you read that? Oh, that was the greatest. Yeah, I was at a New Year's Eve party in the middle of nowhere, and some guy poured champagne down some woman's cleavage. Without even thinking, I slurped it up between her boobs, and all of a sudden it dawned on me that it was alcohol. I was like, whoa! And I couldn't have given a fuck that I licked the girl between her boobs, but it was booze,
But so you can't even have a little. You think you can go back into it?
Yes.
I tell everybody says it's so great that you quit, and I say the same boring thing over and over. I didn't win anything. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
If I could go out tonight and drink a bottle of wine with my friends and then not drink for a couple of
Right,
weeks.
it would be fun drinking.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
If I thought I could, or go out and get really drunk one night, and then I make the same analogy, but it's a great one. I love tuna fish. I love a tuna fish sandwich. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in the world. And if I eat a tuna fish sandwich, I'm in heaven. But I might not eat one tomorrow, and I might not eat one for a month.
And you're not thinking about it.
But the next time I have one, I'll love it. And I'll say,
Right.
"Oh, why don't I do this every day?" But it's not on my not on my plate. You
Right.
know?
That's the problem. It's the way you think about it.
If you could take it
whether-
or leave it, But I can't. And could I do it? Hey! Who wants to roll?
Yeah,
those
why do you
fucking-
want to take a
It's
chance?
just your body can't. Alcohol is poison. Your body can't handle it at this age.
don't
I
oversell
would
it.
always vomit with it too, which is
Oh.
and you would think that would have stopped me, but it didn't. The buzz is more fun than the vomit because I would get migraines and vomit. Now your dad drank too, though. So do you think it ran in your family?
Yes, I
but
believe.
the thing is that there's so many people that drink so much that who do you blame? Who do you not blame?
I don't know if you blame, but I think it's like
your parents
it's
smoke, so
in
you
your
smoke.
DNA,
I mean, I
right?
had two parents that smoked like chimneys, and picking up a cigarette was the furthest thing from
No,
my
because
mind.
comedy, that was the world you're in, back in
What,
those
alcohol,
days.
you mean?
Alcohol,
Coke. I
Coke,
never did
everything.
Coke.
but we're talking about when we're kids, like,
But it seems normal. Like if you see your father, my father drank.
No, it
If
seemed
you see your
perfectly
father
normal to drink.
a
And
lot
smoke.
every day and pass
In the
out at
70s.
night. Yeah, then you go, well, Dad drank. You don't think I actually didn't drink because of my father's drinking until much later in life.
Then you said,
and then I thought, oh, maybe I have the same problem he had.
I never considered not drinking.
Really.
Right, never.
But you didn't look at your father and go, okay, he drinks too much. I don't want to do that.
I said that in the book. I said, look at these examples. Of course I should have.
Right.
But no, I didn't.
Yeah.
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 Hey, cut to the chase. It's fun,
It
Okay,
delivers.
but now,
it
so
delivers.
now you just smoke pot, or you don't even do
Yeah,
that?
and you know what? And not even a lot. I don't think I've smoked pot in a couple months because it's
That's a
it's
take
not
it or leave
it's not a priority.
Right.
When I love smoking pot.
It's
I
not
really
addictive
do.
either, pot, is it? I mean,
No, but
I
it's
don't know.
fun to
I
get
don't
stoned.
like-
And sometimes when I start getting stoned late at night, I do it every night, and then I don't do it. But once again, I can take it or leave it. It's
Yeah.
like jerking off. I tell you what happened to me last week.
Right.
Oh,
Is
fuck.
it jerking off involved?
Yeah, I was looking at the eclipse and jerking off, and I went blind twice. That's another one I wrote.
You wrote that.
That's a great
That's
joke.
a good
That
one.
is a good one.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Somebody gave you a heart on that one.
Oh, good.
Jeff Parami, the fat bastard.
Hey, you
joined.
fat fuck.
Oh, you know who? Darcy Novak says hi.
Hi, Darcy. I love Darcy.
You know we're doing a show for breast cancer.
For or against?
Against breast cancer, November 4th at the Westbury.
Rip Taylor
Theater.
almost had a heart attack because me and Nancy went down to see Rip. He loved me, and we went down.
Loved Rip
We went down
Taylor.
to see Rip Taylor in Atlantic City, and he said he had to leave that afternoon because he was going to work on a telethon for juvenile diabetes. And Nancy said for or against, and he fell down. He thought it was the funniest fucking thing. That raging.
Oh, he was the best.
He was so funny. I used to always like the Tonight Show. I loved all
Well,
those
you like
guys.
all gay guys.
I love gay men. I love gay comedy.
I used to give him jokes, or to sell him jokes, cheap. But I used to meet with him, and my meetings with, and I'm not making this up, my meetings with Rip Taylor were at the perfume counter at Bloomingdale's on 59th and 3rd.
out.
Why?
He'd
Why?
be sitting there holding court when I walked in.
That is so-
Oh, hold on, I have to talk to Jack. Oh my God, you couldn't
He was
fucking
the
make that up.
best.
And did he wear the wig off stage? Too?
Oh.
That ridiculous wig. Was that part of his, or was that just the
that's
show?
part and parcel to the whole thing.
Oh my God!
Now there is the greatest story of all time. And I told this to Barbara the other night, and she said, "There's no way that is possibly true." And I said, "Well, it's too good a story for it to matter if it's true, but I really think it's true."
What's the story?
Because I just heard from this guy years ago. Steve Rossi passed away, and he was a great guy, fun guy, and I'd known him for decades. And we went to lunch in Las Vegas a couple of years ago with like the head guy from Harrah's, and because he knew everybody. Steve, he was a little not down. He was not doing very well, but he had been a superstar. He's telling stories. And we get done with lunch. I said, Steve, how could you leave out the Mae West story? And he goes, oh, I didn't even think of that. I'm like, that's my go-to story, right? So Steve is breaking into show business, and he's like a 48-year-old, good-looking Italian crooner. He's trying to break into show business. I don't know if this is in Atlantic City or Las Vegas, but Mae West was an old broad by now. She wasn't 70, but she was probably 50. Mm-hmm.
What? That's old?
What? In 1948,
Back then,
that was
you're
very
probably
old.
right.
She's a little
Yeah.
chubby.
Well, she's supposed to be a sex symbol, so
Right.
for a sex symbol, it's
And
old.
so her act is she's got 10 beautiful young bodybuilders on stage in little slingshot G-strings.
Yeah.
And they're all greased up. And she's walking up and down, hey, why don't you come see me? Hey, look at you. Are you greasy all over? Like whatever she would say. And believe me, anything you said in 1948 was filthy, wild, crazy, right? So Steve Rossi was the MC and the crooner. He must have come out and said hello and sang a song and then introduced her. I have no idea. But
Right.
he gets the job, and he's all thrilled. I hope this is true, but I don't care. So he goes to his room, and he gets a call, and Mae West says, Steve, come to my room, So Steve goes to her room, and she's sitting on the bed. She says, come over here. And he goes and stands in front of her, and she's sitting on the bed. And she pulls down his zipper and pulls down his pants and his underpants, takes her teeth out, and
No.
hold on, and puts them in a glass of water on the on the night table, and sucks his cock. And he said, just as he's coming, he went, ah! And he pulled off her fucking blonde wig. And he said he's looking at Mae West, bald, no teeth, with a mouthful of his cum, saying to himself, I guess I'm in show business.
Oh, my God.
Is that the greatest show
I
business
love
story?
it. I will never be able to see a movie with her again
I
without
wouldn't
thinking
either,
of that. That is. But you want to know why I think that's true? Because I had heard stories from my ex-husband, Eric Kornfeld.
That she wasn't a good brusher?
No, that
she didn't
she
brush her
that
teeth.
she used to bet she loved black guys for one thing, and that she had a driver, but she called him her driver because it was like a male prostitute. She'd come up, and these big young black guys would fuck her. Like she was really into fucking young guys.
Banged everybody. Did you ever hear of a book called Full Service?
No.
Trust me, anybody, if you like gossip, and I mean crazy gossip, it's a book called Full Service, and it was this guy that ran a full-scale everything in Hollywood, and you wouldn't believe it. There's a couple chapters. Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn, do you know their story?
Well, he was married, and then
Katharine Hepburn was a lesbian.
That's what I
And
thought.
they created the romance between
To
Hepburn
cover it up.
to cover the fact that she was
The
I
carpet munching.
I never knew that.
I didn't really understand that either. She seemed like a
Well,
lesbian.
they didn't want that. You can't be out there.
There's so many stories.
So John Wayne, they say, was gay.
Oh my God! If you could see the picture. Hold on, I just want to ask one thing. So, what time is your next thing? I just don't want you to be late.
I gotta go. What time is
it's
it?
5:05.
I gotta leave in 15.
15 minutes. Okay. So I saw this thing on because I'm looking up John Wayne, and it said because he was in The Quiet Man. I always loved the movie The Quiet Man. So anyway, it
I
says
will tell you
he
that I
was gay.
never heard that John Wayne was gay.
John Wayne was gay. I will show you a photograph when this is over of John Wayne in
Blowing
a
some
bathing
guy.
suit with a cowboy hat on and cigarettes. It is the gayest. His cock is all shoved up into his little bikini. It's the gayest picture I ever saw. And they said that the reason that he used to have Maureen O'Hara, or whatever her name was, because she was a lesbian. So the two of them understood that, and he would hire young guys on his movies, and he was banging the young
Right,
guys.
right.
And she would be, because she knew he was gay, he knew
So-
she was
the
gay.
stories are endless. It gets to so where nothing shocking.
Ah,
I think it was worse back then than it is now. I mean, back then they
Well,
were.
now
Because you could get
everybody-
away with it.
Everybody
look-
just does whatever they
Right.
want. Nobody cares.
Lucille Ball
What'd she do?
had all these women invited them to a luncheon, and she says to one woman, she goes, "Can you please stand up?" So she stands up, and she goes, "Okay, you are the only woman in this room that hasn't banged my husband."
Come
And it was
on.
like 50 women.
This guy-
Which husband?
this
Which
guy-
husband?
Reggie,
Oh,
this,
Ricky.
this guy who wrote this
Ricky.
book, Full Service, he was like a bartender and he catered stuff, but he had a trailer behind a gas station. You gotta read this book, Full Service. It's amazing.
Full Service.
And he was
After
working.
they read your
and he was
book.
working
After
as
your
a
book.
bartender at some party, and Lucy came over and reached across the bar and pulled him by the scruff of the neck and said, "If you don't stop getting my husband fucked, I'm going to have a hitman come after you."
Oh, really?
Because Desi was fucking everything.
Yeah, he
Everybody
did.
fucks
Yeah,
everybody
she was
they can.
tough. She was a
I'd
tough
fuck both
cookie.
of you if I could, but unfortunately I have a date with Adam.
Can
Hey,
we
listen,
get the lube? We need to get the
4:20
lube first.
4:20 p.m. I tweet a joke every day at 4:20
4:20.
p.m. at Jackie Martling. Please, I found out the more people that buy the book in pre-sale, the more Amazon will order, and that way there
Oh.
won't be a
I
backlog.
love the
of
So
cover.
do the
people.
pre-sale. I love
of
the cover,
book.
too.
It actually looks like James Caan a little, doesn't it?
It does.
No, he looks like me.
Yes.
You know what else? Can I say something? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this because it's in your book. But the story, the Teddy Roosevelt story, can I just say something? You do look a little like him with when he smiles with those teeth and his little
Let me
lines
tell
around
you.
his face. You look like fucking Teddy Roosevelt.
Oyster Bay, Long Island, is built on Theodore Roosevelt.
Yes.
Theodore Roosevelt Park, Theodore
Yep.
Roosevelt statue,
The museum.
Sagamore Hill, and
Yep.
everything. And it's a really strong family rumor. And my cousin is the town historian, and he is sure that it's absolutely true.
That he's related.
And the only thing it would take to disprove it is some DNA from a Roosevelt.
Why don't you?
But they
can you-
won't come across with it because there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If it matches up, it matches up.
Wait a
And if
minute.
it-
Wait. So, in other words, someone in your family banged him?
Theodore Roosevelt's father had an illegitimate son, and that was my great-grandfather. It's,
Isn't
it's
that
supposedly-
interesting?
And that's the whole first chapter of the book, and it's so interesting.
Do they not want you to know because if you were related, you get some cash?
No, of course I don't want to
No,
cash.
ruin his name. You're Long Island royalty.
You know what? You know what we were talking about before, like
Yes.
how times have changed. Like, you can't sneeze now. Kennedy was fucking women in the White House
Right.
pool, and the reporters knew it, and nobody was talking. I think the whole world knew that my great-grandfather was Teddy's illegitimate
Really?
half-brother, and just nobody was talking. He ran Sagamore Hill. He went to the White House with Teddy.
Your great grandfather?
Yeah, no, there's a whole relation.
Wow.
It's not a scattered rumor.
Right.
I mean, he worked and I have letters to my grandmother from Edith Roosevelt, from Ethel Roosevelt. I mean, it was such a closeness, you know. And I came this close to getting DNA a couple times, and
What happened?
they got cold feet.
You mean you contacted them and said, I want to know for sure? And
I had two people this close, and they ran.
Next time you see them, just grab their hair out of
Well,
it.
you know, and the way it works is it's not like that. You have to have an actual swab, and you can't do it surreptitiously. You have to
Yes,
give me
you
your
can,
okay.
right. You can, they will not do it. They won't.
Well, how do they know if how you got it?
No, or you can get sued or whatever.
So
know.
what? At least you know.
There should be some right to know law, or there should be presidential DNA, or maybe I should just go fuck a Roosevelt and see what it comes out.
Well,
Well, you
I
get a
have
little
to
blood.
tell
You
you,
prick them.
they
and you,
didn't want.
What?
They
Don't
want.
curse.
They don't want to ruin his name.
But how
Because
is
that
that?
was-
Beg your pardon.
That was that was shameful back
Beg your
then.
fucking-
But back then,
He was a leader.
No, hold on.
He was-
then
Hold on.
shameful. Now, who
Teddy
cares?
Roosevelt's brother Elliot was such a drunken piece of shit that he was in Paris, and he was either dead or so drunk that Teddy had to walk Elliot's daughter
down the
Eleanor
aisle.
down the aisle so she could
Really?
marry her cousin FDR. So
Oh,
that's
my
how
God.
twisted the world is.
Right,
all right?
right.
I mean,
Right.
everybody's
All right.
fucking everybody.
But if you look at that
Well,
picture,
I'm
the way
not.
he's smiling and his little eyes have those little
I have
crinkles,
to see it.
that's a Teddy Roosevelt
Yes.
smile, eye squint.
and he
his
told a
DNA
lot
there.
of the same jokes. I heard that.
I know.
Listen, I'm going to be at the Yonkers Comedy Club
Yes.
September 23rd at 8 p.m.
Yes.
with Tara Conestracci. I don't know if you guys know her. She's my pal. And also, she's going to be a friar if I let her.
Say her name? Tara.
Tara Conestracci.
Conestracci.
She's one of those guineas from
I don't
Yonkers
know.
that's a
Okay.
comedian.
I don't know.
And September 30th, I'm at the Suffolk Theater in Riverhead
Oh,
with Rich
great
Harkaway,
theater.
that's my good pal. But I'm also with a guy named Joe. Oh, I'm going to get it
You
wrong.
can
Joe
remember every
Vicek.
joke.
Vicek. Have you ever seen the Optimum commercials with the three guys that fuck everything up?
No.
It's an ad for Optimum, cable, and these guys are movers. So I have no idea what the tie-in is because I don't pay attention. But there's three movers. There's a black guy and two white guys, and one of the white guys is on the show with me in Riverhead.
The white guy from
Joe
the
Vic-
Optimum
Vicek.
commercial.
That's
Vic
a great
Save,
theater.
Vic Sec.
That's a show I would go see.
Oh, that's so much. The guy Dan out there. Dan, you're a good man. You're very good to me. I appreciate it. And I got other stuff coming up, and
And the joke man, bow to Stern.
very good.
Bow to Stern.
Monday,
Best.
October 23rd in Ridgefield, New Jersey. Tuesday, October 24th at Book Review in Huntington. Friars Book Party closed to you motherfuckers on Wednesday. Upper East Side, Barnes & Noble on Thursday. And then the Vault at Victor Records on Saturday. I'm doing a satellite book tour. And I think, my ex-wife Nancy, who's still one of my dearest pals, me and Barbara double date with her.
I
on Blood
hear
Month.
that. That's
That's
insane.
crazy.
People
It's
think, well, she
insane.
lives
but
two doors
I'm
away.
like
You
that,
understand?
She's
it?
an old pal. She thinks the book's going to sell 1 million. And
I
this'll
think
be-
it's a great book.
And she's always right, but this will be the one time that, when I was on Star Search, before you did Star Search, you had to do your act so they could time it or whatever, and they let the help, the people working on the show. And there was a black girl who did the costuming. And she came up and said, I've never been wrong. I've never been wrong, and you're going to win. And then I lost, and she said, well, I guess I was wrong. I said, well, you fucking find time to leave me, Lucille. You fucking whore.
Carrie Carevas, where are you going to be?
I want to push the. I really want to push the November.
Watch out, he's grabbing your tits.
I did not.
They're very
padded.
They're very. Mine's all padded.
November
hers at least have
4th.
tits
Feel
under
mine.
there.
I'm with Darcy Novak.
November?
Richmond-
Darcy Novick.
Not
Novak.
November.
No, right.
Darcy Nowak.
Novick.
Novick.
So I'm with Darcy. I'm with Richmond Avini. I'm with Joe Starr, and I'm with Chris.
Everett Horton.
Chris Roach and Jeff Norris. We're all doing the breast cancer, fighting against breast
By the
cancer.
time that
on
show's
Long Island.
over, everybody's going to have breast cancer. How many people is that? 12?
A lot.
And I will be at Uncle Vinny's on the 8th and 9th of September.
I love it down there.
I love Uncle
I
Vinny's.
can't, you know what? I don't like the owner. I
Stop.
called him
He's
up. I
the
said, "How do I
nicest
get
guy."
booked?" And you're like, "Who the hell are you?"
No,
And
no, he's great.
He's gruff,
I-
but he's great. And it's Dean and Jerry. Do you realize that?
Yes, that's right.
It's Dean
yeah.
and Jerry.
They're the best. I love the guy. He treats you great. He gives you food.
All right, well,
pays
put
you
in a word
cash.
for me, both
He's-
of you.
It's fun.
I love it. I love it. And you
It's
can
all
put in a
fun.
word for me with Richie Minervini to get me back in
The
The
Borgata.
Borgata, that
Oh, yes.
son of a bitch.
One final thing.
Yes.
In 1979, when me and Minervini started comedy at Cinnamon in Huntington, we didn't know how we were going to get people there because we didn't have a penny. And there was no such thing as comedy, and we didn't know what we were going to do. So I started a joke line, which is still going 38 years later. If you dial 516-922-WINE right now, you'll hear the same old bullshit with the same old jokes with me saying we're on performing on September 30th at the River.
Do you get paid for that?
No, but I've had it for
What do you mean? You got to get paid,
I've
right?
had it
You
for
don't charge
38
them?
years. But in 1981, they wanted to start a club in Levittown, and they were going to call it Governor's Comedy Shop. And they said, "What are we going to do?" And somebody said, "Why don't we get the guy with the dirty joke line?" And I made so much money at Governor's that it paid for.
So people don't have to pay to call your dirty joke line.
It started out as a phone machine, answering machine, in my mother's attic.
Oh my god!
And
Yeah,
it became 10 answering machines in my mother's attic that me and Nancy changed every day. That's a whole nother,
So the
a
money,
whole nother tale.
so the money you make from that is just by you promoting after the joke.
That's all.
See what I mean?
Rick
by a
Dees,
businessman?
Rick Dees,
Unbelievable.
Rick Dees got a hold of the number a million years ago. There used to be a thing called phone credit cards. Because they used to be really expensive to call around.
Right.
And you'd be like, there was like 15 digits, but people would pass them around and they would find out about the crazy numbers. And they
Right.
found out about 516-922-WINE because it's a fun thing. And this girl in California told Rick Dees about it. And he started putting my jokes on his shows. He had the National Top 40 and he had his own personal show. But it went through the fucking roof because he used to tell the people on his show, "Hey, I got Tom Selleck's home phone number, 516-922-9463." And then on the Stern Show, sometimes we'd have some fucking idiot on the show, and Howard go, "You know what? You're a good guy. I think I want to hang out with you." "Really, Howard?" "Yeah. Listen, I'm going to give you the room in my back office, but
phone
don't give
number.
this to anybody. 516-922-9463." And then dial joke would go through the fucking roof. Just so much crazy. I want to do this again.
We would love
We
to
would
have
love
you
to have you back,
again.
'cause
And we
you-
wouldn't have to
we-
repeat any stories.
No,
You
'cause
got a million stories.
You do.
Next time we're doing it topless. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
May I say that
I'm
I
not
saw?
sure I want to see these four.
Wait a minute. May I say you don't want to see mine? May I say that there's a
not that
picture in your book of you climbing like a palm tree or something in Florida? You have to see this guy's six pack is like fucking unbelievable.
That really you could tell it was really me too, right?
Oh my God, yeah! And then there's all these pictures of Mr. Hottie with his shirt off in the
Yeah,
book and
yeah.
everything with the
The
six
second
pack.
book is going to be
50
this.
years ago. 100 years ago.
You were hot. You were cute.
He's still hot
Yeah,
and
he's
cute.
cute. He's cute.
He's
now.
still cute.
I'm going to show you when we get done. I'm going to show you my gymnastic routine, and you're going to flip out.
Can you do handstands and headstands and all that?
No, not anymore. You know, when I got out, when I was in college way back when, I used to go to bars, and I used to do a flip for $1, like an ape. Somebody give me $1, and I do it back like a stand. You know, where you flip
standing
over,
flip.
Jeff Zabrowski.
You can land on your head.
just to get beer. Yeah, and until your head gets closer to the ground,
Oh,
and
yeah,
you
forget
finally
it.
don't do it. You know?
Yeah.
To
That's a little
whack
scary.
yourself a couple times. On
Yeah,
the-
But I
exactly.
love
Pass
that.
out.
You girls are so beautiful. This was as much fun as I knew it was going to be.
We love that you came on the show. We love you. We think you're the greatest.
The greatest.
And we think you should go on Howard Stern and tout your book over there.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. But who knows? You know,
You never know. Never say never.
He might push it.
You never know. But it was nice to go back to the comic strip. And the last time I was here with Rick Overton and Richie Tinkin because they were working on the comic strip. There was a book about the comic strip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it was
yeah.
so much
You're
fun.
in that
And a
book.
couple of my stories were in there.
Oh,
so
yeah,
great,
absolutely.
Well,
Well, thank you.
Richie
very
Tinkin,
much.
thank you.
And we are here live at the comic strip. Did we say that?
We are
We're live at the comic strip.
with Adam Hineker.
Adam Hineker is our producer. And thank you, Adam. You're
Thank
the
you,
best.
Adam. I'm going to send you a dirty joke book, Adam.
Signed.
Sealed,
All right.
delivered.
And now you're going off to another podcast.
I
or
have a
radio
good
show.
friend, Michael Sappho, who is a policeman, and he does a podcast from Dempsey's on 33rd Street and at the end of Fifth Avenue, and he has it's upstairs at Dempsey's. The last time I did it, I did the podcast with the guy who shot Bin Laden.
Really?
Rob O'Neill, yeah, it was great.
Oh,
fun.
how
Oh my
great is
God, that would be a cool
And
story.
this guy and every cop on the East
can we
Coast,
get
every
him?
cop on the East Coast listens to Rob's podcast.
Love it.
And I'm going on with Larry from the Daily News today, and a female comedian. And I'm
Who? Although, I don't know
Liz
a lot of the
somebody?
new girls. Oh, Liz, what's her name? Liz Barrett? No.
No.
Liz Barrett? There's
you know what?
Mealy.
That
Mealy?
sounds right. That
Yeah, I
might
think
be.
that's it. Okay, I know her.
But he said if she's in town, who knows? Who knows?
Okay.
Well, I know I'm going because they might not know it yet, but I'm getting some free food.
They have great food there.
Really, you've been there, Dempsey's?
I timed this so I would make sure I didn't have time to eat here because I ate here once in 1981.
And you're still not over it?
No, I still have underwear to prove it.
All right, well,
Shitting
thank
motor
you
oil, as they say.
so much for coming out.
All right,
we
kids,
love you.
thank
And
you.
give Barbara a big fat kiss
We
for
love
us.
Barbara Klein.
Barbara
Give her-
Klein.
give
I
her
always
a
tell people.
She only says the
This is
nicest
my girlfriend,
things about
Barbara
you.
Klein, not a Jew. Oh, I got to tell you one joke
Very
before we
good.
go.
Go ahead.
Quick,
One more
and
joke.
lead us out with
So a girl
need a joke.
goes to her prom, and then the next day she's at the beach, and she sends her mother a text. She says, "Ma, I'm freaking out. I'm at the beach with my friends, and I got cum in my hair." and her mother sends her back a text, "Honey, listen. It's really not a big deal. Very often a guy will pull it out of your mouth to squirt on your face, and he accidentally gets some in your hair. But just jump in the water. It'll wash right out." And she sends the text back to her mother. "Thanks, Mom, but I meant to type gum."
That's a good one. That's a goodie.
That's a good one.
Now see, Bales and Fat Bastard, if you could tell a joke like that, you could be right here.
That's right, you motherfuckers.
You could be making as little money as me, you cocksuckers.
All right, goodbye. Thank you so
Arrivederci.
much.
Everybody.
Goodbye. Goodbye.